समाज, संस्कृति और संवेदन के गहन संवाद का माध्यम भी है। इस संवाद के लिए हमारे साथ हैं प्रख्यात अनुवादक और लेखिका सुजाता शिवेन, जिनका कार्य उड़िया और हिंदी साहित्य के बीच एक सशक्त सेतु का निर्माण करता है। सुजाता मैम, प्लीज। और हिंदी साहित्य की सशक्त विदुषी, लेखिका एवं आलोचक उर्मिला शिरीष, जिनका अकादमिक और रचनात्मक योगदान स्त्री पात्रों और कथा परंपरा को नई दृष्टि प्रदान करता है। इस चर्चा का संचालन करेंगी पल्लवी रेबा प्रगड़ा, वरिष्ठ पत्रकार और गद्य कविता की लेखिका। यह सत्र 45 मिनट की निर्धारित समय सीमा के अंतर्गत संचालित किया जाएगा। 35 मिनट पूर्ण होने पर वक्ताओं को समय संकेत दिया जाएगा। तो आइए स्त्री लेखन के इस कथा संसार में प्रवेश करें और इस संवाद से जुड़े।
कलिंगा लिटरेरी फेस्टिवल के इस सेशन में आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। मेरी एक हैबिट है कि मैं हिंदी बोलते बोलते इंग्लिश में स्लिप हो जाती हूँ, तो यहाँ पे हिंदी के दिग्गज एडिटर भी बैठे हुए हैं, तो वो मुझे जज ना करें, क्योंकि मैं बहुत अपना लाइक द रेस्ट ऑफ द कंट्री वेरी बाइलिंगुअल, एंड दिस जस्ट शोज कि हम लोग हिंदी में सेंटेंस शुरू तो करते हुए ख़त्म नहीं कर पाते। तो जी जी जी, तो मैंने नंदिनी सतपथी जी की किताब लिखी थी, जो साइमन एंड शूस्टर ने रिलीज़ करी थी 2024 में। उसमें जब मैं वो किताब लिख रही थी और उसकी रिसर्च कर रही थी, तो एक नॉवल का नाम आया जो एक लिटरेरी एक्सपेरिमेंट थी उड़िया लिटरेचर में। उस नॉवल का नाम था बसंती, और 1924 में ये लिटरेरी एक्सपेरिमेंट हुई थी, जिसमें उस टाइम का राइटिंग बहुत ही नेशनलिस्टिक होता था और बहुत देश के प्रति, बिकॉज बहुत फायर और रेज थी यूथ में, तो जितनी भी राइटिंग होती थी बहुत पेट्रियाटिक होती थी, और वही राइटिंग जो है मेन स्ट्रीम बन जाती थी। बट ये लिटरेरी एक्सपेरिमेंट उस टाइम उड़ीसा में हुआ था, और उसमें नंदिनी सतपथी के जो फादर है कालिंदी चरण पाणिग्राही, उनका भी एक चैप्टर था। तो बट ये नॉवल कभी भी बहुत मेन स्ट्रीम नहीं हुई लिटरेचर में। और 1924 में हम बहुत ही फेमिनिस्टिक थीम्स उठा रहे थे, टॉकिंग अबाउट विमेन इन द वर्क फोर्स, हाउ विमेन आर परसीविंग पेट्रियार्की, वो घर में रहती हैं, उनके फाइनेंशियल सिचुएशंस कैसे होते हैं, उनके फैमिली के अंदर डायनेमिक्स कैसे होते हैं, इन रियलिटीज़ पे चर्चा हो रही थी, लेकिन एक बड़े लिमिटेड स्पेस में। मैम, आप दोनों इतने दिग्गज हैं इस स्पेस के, जो स्त्री जो कथा में है उसको ओवर द इयर्स हमने किस तरीके का इनजस्टिस किया है, और किस तरीके क्यों हम ऐसा सब्जेक्ट जो है मेन स्ट्रीम में नहीं ला पाए। एनीवन मैम, यू कैन स्टार्ट। आप दोनों के लिए ये क्वेश्चन है, क्योंकि आप दोनों की यूनिक जर्नी रही है इस स्पेस में।
निधि ना, पल्लवी। हाँ, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद पल्लवी। पहले तो आप संकोच छोड़िए कि आप हिंदी बोलते बोलते इंग्लिश में पहुंच जाते हैं। हिंदी बहुत अच्छी बोल रही हैं, है ना। स्त्री लेखन का जो संसार है, या जो विषय है, या देशभक्ति की बात आप कह रही हैं, राष्ट्रीयता की बात आप कह रही हैं, जैसे सुभद्रा कुमारी चौहान का नाम आपने सुना होगा, है ना। उन्होंने देशभक्ति की बहुत सारी रचनाएं लिखी, और आज भी उनकी लिखी रचनाएं बहुत ही ज़्यादा लोकप्रिय हैं। कोर्स में तो पढ़ाई ही जाती हैं। आम बुंदेले हर बोलों के मुख, हमने सुनी कहानी थी, खूब लड़ी मर्दानी, वो तो झांसी वाली रानी थी, है ना। तो वो आज भी जाते हैं। धीरे धीरे आपने देखा होगा कि स्त्री लेखन ने घर की दीवारों को तोड़ा, वो बाहर की दुनिया में आई, और जैसे जैसे उसके अनुभवों का संसार विस्तार पाता गया। जैसे वो मान लीजिए नौकरी करने गई, खेत में मजदूरी करने गई, विदेश गई, या कॉरपोरेट के क्षेत्र में काम कर रही है, जैसे जैसे वो दायरा बढ़ता गया या स्पेस में गई, वैसे वैसे लेखन का भी दायरा बढ़ा। और बहुत सारे ऐसे विषय जो केवल घर तक सीमित माने जाते थे, और महिला लेखन पर ये आरोप भी लगाया जाता था कि वो तो केवल पारिवारिक जीवन की कहानियाँ लिखती हैं, अपना व्यक्तिगत दुख लिखती हैं, अपनी समस्याएं लिखती हैं, तो इस तरह की चीज़ें। लेकिन महिलाओं ने अपने लेखन के विषय बहुत सारे चुने, नए नए विषय चुने, नए नए क्षेत्रों में वो गईं, और नए नए सरोकारों पर, विषयों पर उन्होंने बहुत ही अच्छा, और पिछले 30 दशक का समय यदि आप देखें तो स्त्री लेखन का सबसे गोल्डन पीरियड जो माना जाता है, जिसमें उपन्यास भी लिखे गए, कहानियाँ भी लिखी गई, दूसरी विधाओं में भी लेखन हुआ, तो ये बहुत व्यापक और विस्तार उसने पाया। और उड़िया और दूसरी भाषाओं के बारे में तो सुजाता जी बताएंगे। तो सुजाता जी से उनके उड़िया संसार के बारे में, लेखन संसार के बारे में सुनते हैं।
ठीक है, जो सवाल आपने उठाया कि पहले पेट्रियोटिक के बारे में ज़्यादा लिखा जाता था, मुझे लगता है कि जब हमारा स्वाधीनता आंदोलन हुआ और उसमें महात्मा गांधी जी ने नारियों को सच कहा जाए तो घर से निकाला, क्योंकि स्वतंत्रता संग्राम में बहुत सारी स्त्रियां थीं जो कि योगदान दी, और बाहर आने के बाद ही उनको समझ में आया होगा कि जो स्वतंत्रता के असली मायने क्या होते हैं, जो विचार की स्वतंत्रता होती है वो क्या होती हैं। और हमारे उड़िया साहित्य में सबसे पहली जो लेखिका थी बसंत कुमारी जी, और उन्होंने जो अमड़ा बाटो अपना उपन्यास लिखा था, यहाँ पर अगर आप लोग पढ़े होंगे उनको, उस जमाने में भी उन्होंने स्त्रियों की स्वाधीनता के बारे में लिखा कि स्वतंत्र विचार कैसे परिवार के बीच में भी रख सकते हैं, बहू जो होती है वो कैसे मतलब रहती है, और लड़की जो होती है वो भी किस तरीके से अपने विचारों के साथ स्वतंत्र रहती है। तो ये एक शुरुआत ही थी। और आज जो है ज़्यादा है इसका व्यापकता, क्योंकि धीरे धीरे जो जैसे आगे बढ़ता जाता है, लोग पढ़ने लड़कियां पढ़ने लगी। हमारी कहानी बहुत उड़िया कहानी रेवती जो है बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ी गई थी, क्योंकि उसमें एक लड़की को पढ़ने के चलते उसको इतना कर्ज करती है उसकी दादी, और लास्ट में बहुत उसमें दुखद घटना होती है। तो वो भी एक शुरुआत थी। और लड़कियां फिर उसके बाद पढ़ने लगी। जब पढ़ने लगी, शिक्षा जो हुआ, मुझे लगता है कि उड़ीसा में लड़कियों को ज़्यादा पढ़ाने के लिए ध्यान दिया जाता है बाकी राज्यों के तुलना में, मुझे जो लगता है, क्योंकि घर घर में लड़कियां पढ़ती हैं, और गांव की में भी अगर लड़कियां हैं तो पढ़ती हैं। तो ये एक अच्छा ही था कि आंदोलन के चलते, स्वाधीनता आंदोलन के चलते शायद हम स्त्रियां जो है अपने को ज़्यादा पहचानने लगी।
जिसे अंग्रेजी में मेल गेज कहते हैं कि व्हेन विमेन राइट अबाउट विमेन इट्स थ्रू द मेल गेज। बहुत बार ऐसा लिटरेचर है जो औरतों पे लिखा गया है जो मर्दों ने लिखा है। लाइक अगर आप शकुंतला को कालिदास ने नहीं लिखा होता तो शकुंतला किसी अलग तरीके से पेश किया होता। इस विषय में आप दोनों का क्या कहना है कि कोई ऐसा नॉवल, कोई ऐसा प्ले आपको लगता है कि अगर इसमें अगर एक फीमेल ऑथर होती तो शायद वो एक अलग पर्सपेक्टिव देती? आपके राइटिंग करियर में आपने कभी इस तरीके की चीज सोची है, किसी नॉवल या प्ले या एनी वर्क ऑफ आर्ट?
आप पूछना ये चाह रहे हैं कि किसी पुरुष ने किसी स्त्री के बारे में,
अबाउट एनी फीमेल प्रोटैगनिस्ट? हाँ,
है ना। तो जैसे बहुत सारे हिंदी में ऐसे लेखक हुए हैं, जैनेन्द्र कुमार हैं, या बंगाल में देखें आप, बंगला में शरद चंद्र हैं, या इवन प्रेमचंद हैं, या विदेशी साहित्य में टॉलस्टॉय हैं, है ना। ऐसे बहुत सारे लेखक हैं जिन्होंने स्त्री जीवन के बारे में बहुत ही गहराई के साथ लिखा। शायद कोई स्त्री इतना अच्छा नहीं लिख पाती जितना उन्होंने लिखा। मनोहर श्याम जोशी या बाद के जितने लेखक हैं, और भी आज भी जो लिख रहे हैं, या बीच की पीढ़ी थे, या मेरे वरिष्ठ जो लोग हैं, उन्होंने स्त्री जीवन को लेकर इस तरह की रचनाएं लिखी हैं, उपन्यास लिखे हैं, कविताएं लिखे हैं कि शायद कोई स्त्री भी उतने अच्छे ढंग से नहीं लिख पाती जितना कि उन्होंने लिखा है। और बहुत सारा लिटरेचर ऐसा है। तो ये एक बात मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि लिखते समय स्त्री और पुरुष का भेद शायद बहुत कम रह जाता है, क्योंकि स्त्रियों ने भी पुरुषों के ऊपर बहुत अच्छी रचनाएं लिखी हैं, बहुत अच्छे पात्रों को जन्म दिया है और एक से एक अच्छे उपन्यास आए। टाइम कम है तो इसलिए नाम नहीं ले रही हूँ, लेकिन यदि आप देखेंगे तो लेखन के स्तर पर आकर ये चीज़ बहुत महीन सी रेखा रह जाती है कि स्त्री है तो हम पुरुष के बारे में नहीं लिख सकते, पुरुष है तो स्त्री के बारे में नहीं लिख सकते। कालिदास का आपने नाम लिया ही है, तो यदि आप उनके मेघदूतम देखें, कितनी सुंदर रचना है, या मोहन राकेश के नाटक देखें, या और भी बहुत सारे लेखक हैं जिन्होंने स्त्री जीवन को बहुत गहराई के साथ लिखा, और ऐसा लगता है कि जैसे वो स्त्री बनकर ही उनके अंदर उतर गए और उनके जीवन के बारे में लिख रहे हैं।
जी मैम, यही सवाल मेरा आपसे भी है।
हाँ,
अगर आप उड़िया लिटरेचर से कोई एग्जाम्पल देना चाहते हैं तो प्लीज दीजिए, बिकॉज हमारे ऑडियंस को पता होना चाहिए कि कितनी रिच हिस्ट्री है उड़ीसा में लिटरेचर की।
जी, उड़ीसा में तो हिस्ट्री बहुत अच्छा है, उड़ीसा साहित्य का। पहले तो मैं कहना चाहूँगी कि उर्मिला सीरीज मैडम जी जो बात कही, मैं सहमत हूँ कि लेखन में स्त्री और पुरुष का कोई भेद नहीं होता है, क्योंकि जब लेखक लिखता है बहुत संवेदनशील होता है। और मैं आपको यहाँ उदाहरण दूंगी, उड़िया साहित्य आपने कहा, उड़िया साहित्य की अभी दुर्गा प्रसाद पंडा बहुत अच्छे कवि हैं। वो 2-3 ऐसी कविताएं लिखे हैं स्त्री को लेके, जिसको कि मैं पढ़ती हूँ तो मैं ये कहती हूँ कि दुर्गा, मैं नहीं लिख सकती, स्त्री होके भी मैं इतनी संवेदनशील होके स्त्री की जिस रूप को आपने लिखा है मैं नहीं लिख पाऊंगी। तो लगता है कि इसलिए कि ऐसा नहीं है कि स्त्रियां नहीं लिख रही हैं, स्त्रियां लिख रही हैं। और ये भी है, आज पहले भी एक सेशन हुआ था, उसमें भी ये कहा गया था कि हम स्त्री जिस तरीके से अनुभव करती है, अनुभव की उस स्तर पर शायद पुरुष ना जा पाए, तो कुछ हद तक हो भी सकता है। और सारे पुरुष नहीं जा सकते, वरना तो सारी स्त्रियों के दर्द को समझ सकती हैं, तो वो एक बहुत बड़े पैमाने में हम उसको बांध नहीं सकते। तो ये किसी के लिए सही है, किसी के लिए सही नहीं हो सकती।
मैम, माइथोलॉजिकल राइटिंग में स्त्री पात्र बहुत अलग अलग तरीके से एनालाइज हुआ है, वेदर इट इज़ महाभारत और रामायण और एनी ऑफ आवर स्क्रिप्चर्स। उसमें जो महिलाएं हैं, कभी देवी होती हैं, कभी उनके साथ कुछ ऊपर नीचे हो रहा है, मतलब देर इज़ अ लॉट ऑफ politics around it, there is a lot of analysis around it, around how the same woman can be viewed in so many different ways. So mythology से अगर मैं पूछूं कि आपका फेवरेट स्त्री कैरेक्टर कौन सा है और कौन सी स्टोरी का है, दोनों से मैं ये एक ही सवाल है मेरा, क्योंकि सीता के कैरेक्टर को इतना देखा जाता है, द्रौपदी के कैरेक्टर, पांचाली के कैरेक्टर को इतना गंभीर तरीके से एनालाइज किया जाता है। दे आर गोइंग थ्रू डिलेमास, सो मेनी डिलेमास, वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो या वायलेंस हो या स्त्री का जिस तरीके से रोल है माइथोलॉजी में, वो हीरो होते हुए नहीं भी हीरो है या विलेन होते हुए नहीं भी विलेन बना दिया जाता है। तो क्योंकि माइथोलॉजी हमारे कल्चर, हमारे रिलीजन, हमारे सनातन धर्म से इतनी जुड़ी है, तो स्त्री का इसमें क्या रोल है? और आप जब आप रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं अपनी राइटिंग में, तो कौन सा कैरेक्टर ऐसा है जिसपे आपको लगता है कि थोड़ा सा आपको गुस्सा भी आता है देख के?
बहुत ही अच्छा सवाल आपने उठाया ये पौराणिक चरित्रों को लेकर, क्योंकि आज भी आप देखिए, चाहे कोई भी भारतीय भाषा हो, बिना पौराणिक पात्रों के कोई साहित्य वहाँ दिखाई नहीं देगा। कहीं द्रौपदी होंगी, कहीं शकुंतला होंगी, कहीं महाभारत के पात्र होंगे, कहीं रामायण के होंगे, या एक इला करके एक बहुत बड़ा पात्र हुआ है। तो बहुत सारे ऐसे पात्र हैं जो आज भी उन उपन्यासों में, कहानियों में जीवित हैं और उनको हम लगातार पढ़ रहे हैं। और ऐसी क्या वजह है सुजाता जी कि आज भी पौराणिक पात्रों को लेकर बहुत ज़्यादा राइटिंग हो रही, बहुत सारे उपन्यास आ रहे हैं। तो मेरा तो सबसे प्रिय पात्र द्रौपदी है, क्योंकि उसके जीवन की जो जटिलताएं हैं, जो दुख हैं, जो तकलीफें हैं, जो संघर्ष है, और एक जो प्रतिशोध को लेकर महाभारत का जो पूरा एक युग चलता है, ऐसे स्त्री पात्रों के जीवन को रचना सबसे बड़ी चुनौती होती है। और मुझे लगता है कि द्रौपदी अपने आप में एक ही है, जिसमें प्रतिशोध भी है, प्रेम भी है, करुणा भी है, अपने समाज को जानने की दृष्टि भी है। और पांचाली कहा जाता है उसको, 5 पतियों की पत्नी। तो सोचिए कि क्या उसका मन कहता होगा, करता होगा, किसके अधीन है, किसके अधीन होकर क्या पालन कर रही है, भरे समाज में, भरी सभा में चीर। तो वो एक स्त्री का जो द्वंद्व, दर्द और वेदना पकड़ पाना बहुत मुश्किल है। और मुझे लगता है इसीलिए आप देखिए द्रौपदी पर बार बार लिखा जाता है, बार बार पढ़ते हैं। जितनी बार पढ़ो, जितनी बार कहो, उतना ही कम होता है।
आई थिंक हर जनरेशन अपने तरीके से द्रौपदी को समझना चाहती है। मुझे ऐसा लगता है एज अ सिविलाइजेशन हमको क्लोजर नहीं मिला है द्रौपदी के दुख से, कहीं ना कहीं हमको उसके कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से क्लोजर नहीं मिला है।
पौराणिक चरित्र जैसे मैं कहूँगी, मैं जैसे द्रौपदी हैं, सीता हैं, चाहे शकुंतला हैं, तो मैं एक बात ये कहना चाहूँगी कि उस समय भी स्त्रियां स्वतंत्र थीं, और 5 पति के होने के बाद भी द्रौपदी को सती माना गया है। और शकुंतला भी शादी, बिना शादी करके माँ बनती हैं। और बहुत सारे ऐसे चरित्र हैं जो बिना शादी करके भी, कुंती भी, और लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं उनके साथ अन्याय भी हुआ। तो और जैसा आपने कहा कि किसको कौन सा पात्र आपको बहुत पसंद है, तो मैं शकुंतला के बारे में कहीं मैंने पढ़ा था, संदर्भ में भूल गई हूँ, किसी राइटर ने, उन्होंने लिखा था कि शकुंतला को जब पूछा गया, जब वो जाती है राजा के पास में, वो कहती हैं कि मैं मतलब उनको याद दिलाने के लिए जाती हैं, तो उन्होंने कहा कि ये बात नहीं थी, प्रसंग ये था कि वो उसका बेटा जब बड़ा होके पूछता है कि मेरे पिता का नाम क्या है, तो वो उनको लेके जाती है दिखाने के लिए कि ये तुम्हारे पिता हैं। वो न्याय मांगने नहीं जाती है, पिता का नाम मांगने नहीं जाती है। तो मुझे इसलिए शकुंतला का ये रूप बहुत पसंद है।
जी, अब मेरा आखिरी सवाल आप दोनों से ये है कि आज के माहौल में जहाँ इंस्टाग्राम है, सोशल मीडिया है, औरतों का जो स्त्री कथा में है वो बहुत अलग तरीके से कथा में है। आज हम बात कर सकते हैं मेंस्ट्रुएशन की, हम बात कर सकते हैं डिवोर्स की, हम बात कर सकते हैं बहुत सारे ऐसे मुद्दों की जो औरतें कभी नहीं बात कर पाती थी अपनी फैमिली से, क्योंकि पेट्रियार्की का स्ट्रक्चर बदल रहा है, वॉइस आ रही है बहुत एक यंग जनरेशन के पास। तो स्त्री पात्र स्त्री कथा में किस तरीके से बदलेगा और किस तरीके से बदल रहा है, और क्योंकि आप लोगों ने एरास देखे हैं बदलते हुए, ये चेंज अपने आप देखा है और उस चेंज को अपनी राइटिंग में कैप्चर भी किया है, तो आपको किस तरीके की खुशी या क्या एहसास होता है देख के कि टुडे द वीमेन राइटर्स ऑफ टुडे वो किस कॉन्फिडेंस से अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस कर पा रही हैं, उनका कैनवस कितना बड़ा है एज कम्पेयर टू जब आप लोगों ने राइटिंग स्टार्ट करी थी, तो कितना बदलाव आप लोगों ने देखा है टू द फ्यूचर, क्योंकि बहुत यंग लोग आए हैं KLF में, दे आर ऑल स्टूडेंट्स एंड जिसको जेन जी बोलते हैं, तो ये उस जनरेशन के बच्चे हैं जो बहुत अलग तरीके से लिटरेचर और हर इनका एक एक चीज़ को परसीव करने का तरीका ही बहुत अलग है।
बहुत संक्षेप में जवाब देती हूँ, क्योंकि देखिए बहुत ज़्यादा बदलाव आ गया है। शुरू के जो पात्र थे वो बहुत ही कमज़ोर थे, है ना, और दूसरों पर निर्भर रहते थे, पति और उनकी आज्ञा ही शब्द चलता था कि बिना सर्विस नहीं कर सकते थे, बाहर नहीं निकल सकते थे, पढ़ नहीं सकते थे। आज वो सारी चीज़ें बदल गई हैं। स्त्रियां पढ़ लिख कर अपनी पहचान, अपना अस्तित्व, अपनी स्वतंत्रता, अपनी क्षमता पहचान रही हैं, और यदि कोई उनके काम को रोकने की, प्रतिभा को रोकने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो वो उसके लिए प्रतिरोध भी करती हैं, लड़ाई भी करती हैं, कन्विंस भी करती हैं। तो बहुत ज़्यादा बदलाव आया है। तो जब समाज में बदलाव आएगा तो कहानी में भी वो पात्र उस तरह के ही आएंगे, क्योंकि समाज से ही साहित्य आता है, वहीं से किरदार आते हैं। तो समाज का जो बदलाव है, शिक्षा के कारण भी सारी चीजें हुई हैं। तो उसी तरह के बहुत ही सशक्त किरदार आज कहानियों और उपन्यासों में आ रहे हैं, जो बहुत अच्छा साइन है कि जब भी कोई लिटरेचर पढ़े तो कम से कम वो अपने भारतीय समाज के बदलते हुए रूप को देखे और बदलती हुई स्त्री को देखे। जो दादी थी वो उसकी माँ नहीं है, जो माँ है आज वो लड़की नहीं है। इतना बदलाव आया।
बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ कि बदलाव तो बहुत आया है। और मुझे लगता है कि बदलाव इसलिए भी है कि जो लेखिकाएं हैं अतीत में, उन लोग लिखती रही हैं और वो बदलाव को वो समझ पाई थी और अपने लेखन में उसको लाई, तो धीरे धीरे ही बदलाव आया है। तो अब उसके बाद एकदम से बदलाव इसलिए आ गया है कि आजकल टेक्नोलॉजी बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया है, हम लोग बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सपोजर हो गए हैं, तो इसलिए और ज़्यादा जो लड़कियां हैं और स्त्रियां हैं आज बहुत ज़्यादा वो स्वतंत्र हो गई हैं। पहले क्या था, पड़ोस में भी जाओ तो एक छोटा भाई को लेके जाओ, 5 साल का भी है तो वो हमारा क्या मदद कर सकता है, लेकिन ये कि एक लड़का है आपके साथ में। लेकिन अब नहीं, अब तो रात में भी लड़कियां नौकरी कर रही हैं, जा रही हैं, बाहर रह रही हैं और जो चाह रही हैं वो कर रही हैं, चाहे वो लड़की के रूप में हो, चाहे बहू के रूप में हो या पत्नी के रूप में हो। नौकरी कर रही हैं, जैसा चाह रही हैं वैसा पहन रही हैं और जिस तरीके से चाह रही हैं अपनी ज़िंदगी को जी रही हैं। तो टेक्नोलॉजी का एक अच्छा प्रभाव भी है और मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ज़्यादा भी ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। स्वाधीनता का अर्थ बहुत ज़्यादा स्वतंत्रता भी नहीं होना चाहिए, और ये दोनों के लिए है, पुरुष और स्त्री के लिए भी। पुरुष को भी स्वयं से रहना चाहिए और स्त्री को भी रहना चाहिए।
मैं आखिरी में बस आपका धन्यवाद करना चाहूँगी, क्योंकि जो महिलाएं लिखती हैं, जो फीमेल ऑथर्स होती हैं इंडिया में, उनको क्योंकि आप लोगों ने बहुत सारे बैरियर्स तोड़े हैं और बहुत सारी ऐसी राइटिंग करी है, तो क्योंकि आप लोग कर पाए तो हम लोग कर पाए, एंड वो ही आगे चलता जाएगा। तो आई थिंक द बर्डन ऑफ जैसे स्मैशिंग पेट्रियार्की बोलते हैं, या बर्डन ऑफ मे बी से मेकिंग पेट्रियार्की इवॉल्व, अगर हम थोड़ा कम उसको कम ड्रास्टिकली बोलें, तो it begins with people like you who really opened the floodgates of writing and put the woman in the in literature. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
सर्वप्रथम हम अपने सभी वक्ताओं का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करते हैं, जिन्होंने अपने विचारों और अनुभवों से इस सत्र को अत्यंत समृद्ध बनाया। अब हम आदरपूर्वक मंच पर आमंत्रित करते हैं माननीय शिप्रा मैम को, ताकि वे हमारे सभी वक्ताओं को सम्मान अभिनंदन करें।
Continuing with the next session, guys. Namaskar, I am Devanshu Singh, your host for this session of Kalinga Literary Festival. Public service and literary imagination. Public service and literary imagination may seem like two different worlds, but both are driven by imagination, empathy, and the desire to shape society. Today, we bring together voices that embody this intersection. Please join me in applauding Dr. Kuladhar Sakya, distinguished short story writer and Sahitya Akademi Award recipient with 25 short story collections, plays, essays, and a novel to his credit. His postmodern storytelling blends reality and fantasy. Beyond literature, he has served as Director General of Police in Assam, President of Assam Sahitya Sabha, and a Fulbright Fellow, exemplifying the union of service and creativity. Let's celebrate Sujit Kumar, Rajya Sabha member, whose journey bridges technology, law, and public life. From Infosys to the UNDP, from the World Economic Forum to founding the Kalinga Kusum Foundation. His career reflects dialogue between grassroots, realities, and global perspectives. Now, let's applaud Vikas Swarup. Acclaimed author and retired diplomat, his debut novel, Q&A, became the Oscar-winning film, Slumdog Millionaire, and his subsequent works, including Six Suspects and The Girl with Seven Lives, has been translated worldwide. His distinguished diplomatic career and literary achievements make him a unique voice of imagination and service. Guiding this dialogue is Professor Vibhu Acharya, retired IAS officer and policy leader, whose pioneering initiatives in industrial, biotech, and tourism sectors have shaped development in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh. Today, he moderates this conversation, bringing his expertise in governance and public policy. Over the next 35 minutes, we will explore how literature and public service together illuminate the human condition, inspire change, and reimagine society. Let us begin this important dialogue. Please note, as with all sessions at the Kalinga Literary Festival, a signal will be given 10 minutes before the scheduled end time to help our speakers and audience wrap up gracefully. Thank you. Over to the moderator.
Good afternoon to all. It's very difficult to keep you awake in an afternoon session, particularly after lunch. So we have the daunting task of keeping you awake and talking about a topic which is not widely known. It's slightly difficult to understand what we are supposed to speak. So I would like to set the context by trying to define it initially. It's a concept which evolves. Public service and literary imagination. In fact, I would like to expand the scope of the topic with the permission of the panelists. My distinguished panelists were here to include public service and creative imagination, because imagination is not only restricted to literature. It could be in other fields of art. It could be the painting, it could be dancing, it could be other, like I do cartoons, my cartooning, different kinds of hobbies which civil servants, bureaucrats, public servants, distinguished honorable members of parliament have pursued, and how has it helped them in their public service is what we would like to look at it in the next 35 minutes. Mercifully, the introducer has reduced our time by 15 minutes. So you don't have to bore you. Yeah. So, but we'll have a Q&A if you people get involved. So I would like to begin by asking a general first question to all the distinguished panelists who are with me, to start with, what do they think public service, how is public service and literary or creative imagination, how are they connected, if at all they are connected, and what is it that they understand, how would they like to define it to begin with? I would begin with Sujit ji, the Honorable Member of Parliament.
Thank you, Vibhuji. Good afternoon. Thank you, KLF, for inviting me. This is my first participation in any KLF event, though I've known Rasmi for almost 10 years now. and it's an honor to be on a panel with three distinguished civil servants. I'm the lone non-civil servant here. Didn't qualify. Well, I didn't never wrote for civil service, but it's a very interesting topic: the confluence of literary imagination or creative imagination, as Mr. Acharya has put it, and public service. I think is a topic which has not been explored much. But I'll start with a caveat that I do not belong to the world of literature. I rather belong to the world of technology and politics, being a politician, a technocrat and politician. But I think public service in its most honest form is also literary imagination. Because as people's representatives, we essentially deal with people's lives of citizens, about lived realities, about aspirations. And isn't this what poets and authors and thinkers are supposed to do? They do dabble and play around these areas and these topics. Now, I'll share, if with your permission, I'll share 2-3 examples from my own political life. Yeah. So,
And with the definition part of it, then I will come back for real life
sure.
examples and all that.
Okay, perfect. So I think public service is nothing but giving shape to the imagination of the masses, giving shape to the imagination of what our constitution makers had envisaged, and so I believe that this topic is something which is not binary, but rather it's a confluence. Rather, it builds on each other. So.
Thank you, Sujit. May I request the audience to come closer? There's a big hall. We are feeling lost, as if there's no one sitting. Those who are in the back rows, please come in the front. It'll be easier to connect with you, if at all we can. May I pass on to Mr. Saikia, who is a former DGP from the Assam state. How does he being an eminent short story writer in Assamese, how does it help in his career as a police officer, or does it affect it in any ways?
Just simply let us understand.
Maybe define the topic first as you understand it. Yeah.
Sorry. No, what I'm saying, just one line before I start talking about it. Say, literary imagination is a faculty used for writing and expressing yourself, all right? So it doesn't require to be a civil servant, or doesn't require to be a different type of occupation entirely as a writer. So anybody can write, anybody can imagine. Imagine is the basic instinct of a human being. Now, how you use the imagination in putting it in terms of painting or writing or whatever, that is what we are going to talk about today. Anyway, so you asked me basically about what?
What do you understand about your topic?
That is what I'm saying. The imagination is because of that. See, a civil servant has a different type of atmosphere. He has it within the organization himself, different type of atmosphere, then again vis-a-vis the society. This is the only difference probably with a civil servant writer and anybody else. Now, within civil service, I'm not going to talk about that. Basically, I see that, writing in being in civil services is like moving in a vestibule train, Say you have an imagination coach. Sometime you go over to that particular coach from the regular coach of being a civil servant. So how often you visit imagination, how often you visit how people go beyond experiences. We have a lot of experiences all throughout in civil service, but how can you go beyond that? That is what the imagination is about. So briefly, I just wanted to...
Thank you, Saikia ji. Now we pass on to Vikas ji, who, those of you who don't know about this angle, he is the author of the Q&A, which was adapted for the famous film Slumdog Millionaire. So we'll expect questions on that at least. Before we come back to his Slumdog experience, you please define what it means to you, this topic, and what are the implications.
Thank you, Mr. Acharya. I cannot really add too much to what my very distinguished colleagues, Honorable Member of Parliament and my batchmate Kulu Saikia have already said. Public service is at heart an act of imagination. A diplomat, a civil servant, a member of parliament or a police officer is constantly asked to imagine futures that still do not exist. Peace instead of conflict, cooperation instead of hostility, a policy that changes how millions will live. So bureaucracy looks dull from the outside, but it is really the architecture of imagined worlds. And I think that, empathy is the bridge between creativity and public service. In a novel, you ask, why is this person acting in this particular way? And similarly, in public service, you asked the same question about a community, a protest, a rival country, for instance. What makes that country tick? You try to inhabit that particular mindset, because only when you inhabit that mindset, you start looking at the world through that person's eyes, and then you have a much better understanding of what really is happening. And that's why I think eventually public service is about possibility. It's not about power. And the courage to believe that institutions can be made more just as a writer believes that a story can be made, can make the reader see the world differently. So I think that is really my definition of public service and creative imagination.
Thank you, Vikas ji. I will come back to you on your experiences. May I begin with the Honorable MP Sujit ji about his real life experiences, how creativity or literary imagination has helped in his public service, in his career as an honorable member of the parliament or whatever. His experiences, real life stories, if you can narrate.
Yeah, over the years, I got into politics in 2012, and over the last 13 and 14 odd years, I've realized that governance at the essence is about listening to people. And I'll say 2 or 3 examples. First example is an event which I hosted. I belong to a district called Kalahandi in western part of Odisha, which was once notorious for poverty, starvation, but today it is one of the most remarkable success stories in development. And I urge all of you to visit to see the transformation yourself. So I hosted a dialogue in Kalahandi where we connected the voices from the grassroots with policymakers. In fact, I told everyone who attended that there is no airport there. The nearest airport is 6 hours away. There is no decent hotel there. You'll have to make do with some basic arrangement. And you won't believe we got 3 Nobel laureates. We got 180 students from almost all the top institutes in the country. We had about 600 participants. And the theme of the dialogue was talking development where it matters the most. It's irony that we talk about nutrition, malnutrition, and farmers' empowerment sitting in Mayfair, Bhubaneswar. So let's go to Kalahandi where these issues are lived on a day-to-day basis. And my experience there, during the dialogue, convinced me that governance emerges not when you speak the loudest, but when you hear it from the people, and that can be weaved into a development story. The second example which I can cite is about a football tournament which we hosted called SDC Cup. So we convened about 10,000 tribal boys and girls from across Odisha, predominantly from the tribal belt. This was in 2020, and then through this sporting event, we celebrated their culture, we celebrated the raw talent, we celebrated their confidence, we gave them visibility, we gave them identity. So through this sporting event, basically it was not just an event, it was a celebration of inclusion and empowerment of tribal youth. Again, some of the most powerful stories are impactful when there is silence. Third example is about 2 panchayats which I have adopted in my district Kalahandi under the Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana. Honorable Prime Minister in 2014 urged all the MPs to adopt a couple of panchayats in their constituencies. Most MPs didn't take it seriously. I adopted 2 panchayats with almost 98% SC/ST population in the 2 panchayats. And the idea was that through listening to people, going to them, being a part of their daily life, and through convergence of various schemes, will ensure that every single household and individual in those two panchayats are empowered. And today, it has become one of the most, with all humility, I say this, that this model of it's Sagi in sorts, Sansad Adarsh Gram Yojana, these two panchayats have become models of saturation, models of convergence, models of rural empowerment and development. Again, the idea was that listen to the stories of people, use their lived experience, use their aspirations, their struggles with identity, their struggles with land, their struggles with their culture or the erosion of their culture. Use that as the basis for embarking on a development journey. And over the last 5 years, it has become a very, I would say, truly a development success model. So these are some of the examples which I can cite from my own personal experience as a politician, as a member of parliament, where using the power of storytelling, using the power of human realities, using the power of empathy and the power of listening, we have tried to bring impact to public service, impact to public policy. So there is this connect between policy and practice has been the imagination, and hence I believe that every public servant, whether it's a public representative or a civil servant, is or should be a poet at heart, should be a literary a literary person at heart.
Thank you. May I also urge you to relate one or two anecdotes about your experiences in the Rajya Sabha, where imagination played a role. You were debating something, and would you like to add to your experience? I will come back. You think about it. You can do it now.
I can. Being a technocrat, I've always believed in the power of technology, and in these examples that I cited, also we have leveraged technology in a massive way. Incidentally, we have started 2 drone labs in these 2 panchayats, in the 2 high schools, and this happened to be the first drone labs in the country in any government high school. Can you imagine? In Kalahandi. Today we have 80 girls who are qualifying to be drone pilots. In just a few weeks, they will all emerge as drone pilots, and they will start earning between 12 to 15,000 a month. So, and I have recently published a book called AI on Trial. The book explores, all of us are convinced about the potential and power of the transformation of AI. Now, what is the shared future that we want to see in an AI world? That is what the book explores. No doubt AI is going to transform everyone's life and every sector, but issues like ethics, issues like trust, accountability, governance, bias, liability, these are issues which are still evolving and still not yet discussed and debated as much as they should be. But these are issues which have become very, very pertinent and relevant. I'll give a very small example. Now, unfortunately, many young boys and girls, teenagers particularly, are developing very, very unhealthy relationship with AI models and AI agents. We have had many instances of teenagers committing suicide, being encouraged and motivated by AI models. Classic example, the first example of its kind was when a boy in Florida, a 14-year-old boy, committed suicide after he befriended a chatbot called character.ai. So a couple of engineers from Google, they left the company and founded the startup company called character.ai. It was basically a platform to provide counsel to youngsters about relationships, about life. And this boy shut himself off from the real world for many weeks. God knows how no one noticed this. And finally, the chatbot and kept doing what the chatbot prompted it to do. Finally, the chatbot prompted it to commit suicide, and the boy committed suicide. So these are issues which are becoming very commonplace now. So my book explores these kind of issues, and these are the issues which I'm championing even in the parliament. That you don't just build an AI ecosystem, you don't just have an India AI mission with 10,000 odd crore budget, but unless you grapple with these issues, unless you have regulatory frameworks in place, unless you have adequate risk-based governance mechanisms in place, we are looking or we are staring at some kind of disaster. So my parliamentary intervention has been, apart from other developmental aspects, has been on how technology, particularly AI technology, can be used in a positive way to counter the ill effects of AI, and also deploy it in a meaningful way to advance development.
Thank you, Sujit. In fact, India is going to host the AI summit, so I hope they invite you and tell about your experiences there.
I'm a speaker there.
Yeah, good. Saikia ji, from your short story, would you like to relate any of your experiences as a police officer to any of your short stories? Or otherwise, any experience where fighting the Ulfa terrorists or whatever you feel where imagination helped you?
Well, see, number one is there are a lot of ways of tackling. Through law, we can do a lot of things. Law has given a lot of power and things like that. I'm going beyond that, not breaking the law, but I'm saying now how empathy can help. See, when I was in 2000 to 2001, I was a Fulbright scholar at Pennsylvania State University in USA. Then I was working in World Bank for a while at Washington. Immediately after I returned back to Assam, I was posted in a particular tribal area where I had 5 districts as DIG. Now, in that place, I realized that there is a particular crime which cannot be tackled by the normal policing duties, all right? That is about the social prejudices. People were being, traumatized for witchcraft, witch hunting, and women were the maximum victims of it. So I thought, can we have something different from normal policing to help them out? We started working with them, and finally, by the time I left policing, we have covered around 100 tribal villages where this particular system was almost disappeared. How did we do? We did it only through connect of the people, connect of the women, and through women empowerment. That was not my normal duty as such, but I realized that at least all the stakeholders of the society should be brought in, and in that mission, different stakeholders came together, and if you want to look at it, you can see it in there's a particular case study in Business Harvard Review, Harvard Business Review, HBR. They have mentioned as being a change agent. That is about my story, how I have brought in changes in all those tribal areas. Why I'm saying this? Sometimes a civil servant has to go beyond within his limited law and other power. He should also think empathetically. This was not my duty, but I thought there should be a positive impact on such areas. That is one thing. Secondly, about the story you are talking about, see, we had gone through a terrible time in Assam. When I became DGP, before that, posted in different areas where we fought against the alpha extremists and a lot of other extremists of different flavor and guys. Now, see, just think of a situation like this. When a doctor in a very interior village comes to know that a particular bullet-ridden body has been brought to his chamber and there are hardly few minutes left for the person to die. When the doctor went out, he found out that this is the same extremist who had killed his daughter once. Some time back, his daughter was killed, a young child, basically around 6-7 years, coming back from school. She was killed by a bullet. Now, there is a tremendous amount of confusion for the doctor, the conflict, whether he should treat the person who killed his daughter or he should not, right? So such type of dilemma we have seen in the film, in the field, and this is a story, this is the crux of a story of my some books. The name of the story was The Sunflower, it's a different thing. Then you just think of a situation when a young girl of 18, 19-year-old, she came to me once when I was the police chief of Guwahati. She came and she told me, sir, I am taking my exam tomorrow, and today I came to know, after coming from the college back home, I found my father is missing. Somebody said somebody has kidnapped him. There is no logic that such person should be kidnapped. She thought that he must be taken away by the security forces or by some extremist elements. She was not sure. I told that girl, don't worry, within 24 hours, you'll get your father back. She said, sir, my father is my father. Please get him back. I just want him alive with me because I have exam tomorrow. I said, you please take the exam. Your father will be back, and I see that he is back by today evening. That same night, by around 3 o'clock in the morning, I came to know that there is a huge shooting in the town itself. Then I could guess something has happened, Then immediately I got the message from police control that the person has been shot dead in a particular locality, and they have gone. Now I went to that particular area around 3:30 or so. Imagine, the girl was standing in front of me. How can I tell her? How can I tell her that I lied to her? That particular thing has been traumatizing me all throughout my life, even today. That I promised a young girl that your father will be brought back alive, but the father was found dead. So these are certain things, if you feel empathetic about certain situations, you feel for the people. So this is what I wanted to say about, it's not imagination. The story, the happening was not imagination, it's a fact. But the imagination is much beyond that. The girl, her face, her tears, and the entire family shocked. That is beyond the fact, which as a civil servant I must have the courage to imagine and put myself in their shoes. That is what I wanted to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Saikiaji, and very really touching and poignant stories. I mean, you could try making films on these stories, which will make very touching. Now we'll come back to the film with Vikasji telling about his experiences on the Slumdog and how it helped him to open doors.
So, Slumdog Millionaire, as you know, came out at the end of 2008. In 2009, I was posted to Japan as Consul General of India to Osaka, Kobe. In fact, my friend Ambassador Sanjay Panda, who's sitting here in the front row, he was the Deputy Chief of Mission in our embassy in Tokyo at that time. No, he came a bit later, I think, because before that somebody else was there. So anyway, I arrived in Osaka, and the film had become a huge hit in Japan, actually. The book had done very well, and the film had become a huge hit in Japan. So obviously, there was a lot of interest in my arrival in Japan as the Indian Consul General. And generally, what happens is, there were about 25 Consul Generals in Osaka. So all the Consul Generals are supposed to, call on the governor of that province and present their letter of credence, accrediting them to that particular province. So that is a ritual that is followed by the governor once every 6 months or so. He waits for about 15 or 10, 15 Consul Generals to arrive, then in one go he, as I say, nipta dete hain, you come and you do that. I arrived in Osaka, I think, on the 13th of August. And on the 15th of August, I get a call from the governor's office, sir, the governor wants to meet you. So I said, okay, I didn't know that. What's the thing? He says, no, he has seen the movie. He is very keen to meet you. So you see, the governor was not interested in the Consul General of India, but he was interested in the author of Slumdog Millionaire. So that is what I was telling you
opened
earlier.
so many doors.
It opened up so many doors. Then about 30 Japanese universities invited me to their campus to come and talk about that film. And I said that no, I am not going to come to your campus and talk about my film. I am going to talk about India. So I use that really as a vehicle to enlarge the opportunities for India, to enlarge the constituency of India in Japan. And then I said, you can always ask me questions about the movie in the Q&A session. So this is what I would say, that, because these days now a country is judged not just by the size of its army, it is also judged by its soft power. And Indian literature is very much part of our soft power. So creative imagination by Indians is, I think, very much a part of our arsenal of all of us as diplomats.
Thank you.
Now before, you cannot just be a moderator. You yourself have written this
No,
fantastic,
in fact, we are asked
fantastic book.
to. That's what I would. Those
your
who want to know
cartoons.
my experiences, just display that book.
Yes. So, in fact, I want to ask you now. That
No,
please tell us
we are asked to wind up.
No, please tell us about your journey. You are also a 19380 batch IAS officer, and yet you have
in
created
fact,
this
my
book
theme
cartoons.
for the entire civil service, I had the privilege of training over 2,000 All India service officers in my posting before retirement. So my central message was empathy and develop your creativity for out-of-the-box solutions, for innovation. So there is not much of time left for us. I was asked to wind up. Those of you who want to see the stories of my career, it's available outside. My 40 years journey as a bureaucrat is summarized in cartoons. As they say, a picture speaks more than 100 words. A cartoon speaks about 1,000 words each. So those of you who would like to see, it's available in Oxford bookstore. I would like to close here. And if there are any pressing questions, one or two, allow us to have one or two questions. Yeah, Sanjay, most welcome. He is a colleague of Mr. Vikas from the Foreign Service. From a literary family, his mother was an editor of very well-known journal called Sucharita. His sister writes. His brother-in-law is a well-known philanthropist here, Mr. Subrata Bhakti. So he doesn't need an introduction. Sanjay.
Thank you so much for this introduction, all that you have done in the process, that this is the black sheep in the family who doesn't write. Anyway, if everybody writes, there has to be a reader also, and there has to be an admirer. So I am one of the admirers. And I have been very close to Vikas. I just wanted to pose this question to our three panelists here, including the moderator, of course. As a civil servant, while you are having any creative expression in your writing, are you getting somehow, do you think your job itself constricts you in expressing the way you would have otherwise done? Does it restrain you sometimes? Or, when the creative juices flow, do you try to stop the juices from flowing in the direction which it should have? The very simple question.
Yeah,
I would expect an honest answer.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I will begin by citing, in fact, it's answered partly in the preface of my book, where I told my restrictions for as a civil servant to draw cartoons. Cartoon is a different kind of a hobby. So political cartoons are not allowed. You are restricted by the civil service, the conduct rules, and the bureaucrats are not expected to do political cartoons. So I try to do the tightrope walk by laughing at oneself, by doing cartoons on bureaucracy, not on politicians, with due apologies to. Once I retired, those shackles slowly disappeared, but yet shackles remain forever in your life. Once a bureaucrat, always a bureaucrat. So it's not easy to shake off these shackles. So it's not been very easy to be creative and yet being in the civil service. There are restrictions. You can't say whatever you like. There's an image of the bureaucracy. And a DGP writing something will be noticed. An MP writing something will be noticed. An ambassador of Canada writing something will be noticed, will be commented upon. So one has to be careful. You are not representing yourself. You are representing a country. So you write something in Canada. There was some article by some diplomats in Delhi, so it was criticized about Putin's visit, if you remember. Yeah. So you would like to answer?
But I would also say that, compared to other countries, our civil service rules are the most liberal in the world. An American diplomat I met, he told me, in my service, I would not have been allowed to write a book like Q&A, what you wrote. Because, in our service, in the civil services, the rule says that if you are writing a literary book, if you are writing a cultural book or a scientific, sports related, you don't even need government's permission. Forget about showing the manuscript. You don't even need government permission to publish that book. So that is, I think, a huge leap of faith on the part of the framers of our civil service rules, that they permitted your creative imagination to flow unrestricted. But having said that, of course, all of us, as a diplomat, I couldn't have written a novel where I am, lambasting a friendly country or something like that, because, the disclaimer I had to give in my book was, I did not have to submit my manuscript, but I had to confirm that this book does not harm bilateral relations with any other country. I'm sure similar constraints
In
exist.
fact, most of us write at the bottom. These are personal opinions, not as a civil servant. Please,
I'll just speak it in one line only. See, a lot of things, when your imagination runs high, it's not that you have to write something about against the law or the system. What I mean to say is, when I say I've written around 26 short story collections, if you read it in the simple word, you won't find anything. But if you read it again and again, you find that what you want did not speak yourself are there inside. So the point is how you write, what style you use, and how much you understand of the power of the word. See, a lot of words have lost its power in today's world. There are a lot of examples I would have given you, but the basic fact about the power of word, please remember, if the words take you through the path of truth, I think that is the enough limitless world you will have. And I have been writing like that, so never ever I had got any problems in it. Thank you so much.
Last word by Sujit ji. So we will wind up.
We will be having just one last question by so.
Okay, well,
After.
Sanjay, I'm not a civil servant, so to that extent, I'm not bound by any code of conduct or service rules. But as a member of parliament, I'm expected to, toe the party line, and I'm always guided by the philosophy of Karma Yogi civil servant, which has been articulated by our honorable Prime Minister, where a public servant, whether a politician or a civil servant, is expected not to be a regulator, but a facilitator of a billion dreams. So that has been my philosophy always. And I mentioned about my book. The book actually is a call to action to my own government. I'm from BJP, the ruling party. And the book actually urges the government of India to pay urgent attention to the need to bring some regulatory clarity on AI. I think, there were some suggestions to me that it might be construed differently as a criticism to the government, but it has been taken in the right spirit. So I think well-meaning literary work or well-meaning imagination always helps. Your intent is right, intent is good, then I think it is looked in the right spirit.
Thank you, Sujit ji. One last question.
Hello. Guys, thank you very much. It's been very enlightening. I must confess that I felt very shortchanged because I think they changed the timing suddenly of this. So I came in late.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Marzban Shroff. I'm a speaker at the festival. I'm also a writer of literary fiction. I publish considerably here and in the West. So my question to you guys is that, we live in an age of propaganda and polarized news. And there is always this one-upmanship in terms of news, which actually vitiates the national dialogue. Now, when I hear speakers like you all, this actually turns out to be the real India story, the growth story. My serious question to you all is that why can't this be initiated into the curriculum? Why can't we have a subject like public service and the literary imagination? I'm sure we'll create better students, better youth, and this will be a kind of a covert form of nationalism, which will be deeply ingrained. So is there any talk about having a think tank which encourages inducting these kind of ideas into the national curriculum? Is it part of the new education policy? Can you guys please shed some light on this?
I'll begin by answering briefly. All along, unfortunately, Indian education system was focused on mugging up things and writing in the exam. Creativity was not given the premium it deserved. Perhaps there is going to be some change. If you ask a question, it is considered not very desirable, or your inquisitiveness and the creativity were not really encouraged in our system. So there is an urgent need to change it. You go abroad and see their school system, their education system, it's so different. So those of us who went and our children studied there, they immediately compare system there and system here. So there is a need to change the mindset, not only of the curriculum, but of the teachers also. Teachers should encourage the question asking. It's not the other way around. You are looked down upon if you keep on asking questions. So I hope the NEP does make a beginning now, but they have tried to expand the years. They try to decolonize minds as it were. But whether it will also lead to creativity, more innovative thinking remains to be seen. It depends on not only the students but also on the teachers to a large extent. Would you like to?
I'll just echo what you have said. I think I completely agree with what Bibuji has said about our education system. Thankfully, the new education policy of 2020 puts a lot of stress on multidisciplinary learning, on creative thinking, on critical thinking, and sports, creative arts are given as much importance as regular academic courses. So I think that will change. If I know that I'm going to get a job only if I score high marks in my exams, only if I reproduce whatever is there in the text and then I'll get good marks, then I'll obviously follow that path. But if I'm sure that okay, if I do sports as well, if I do painting, if I do dance, that counts as much as regular academic learning, and I can accumulate credits from this creative world, then obviously that makes a different learning possibility. So I must really thank the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Minister of Education, who happens to be from our state, for the new education policy and the impetus it has given to a different kind of learning.
So actually my question is very much relevant to the Kalahandi story you shared, because I think these are case studies in management and leadership, and these should actually be initiated into the curriculum. So do you see the possibility of these kind of things? There's so much good work happening which we don't hear of.
There are actually now platforms which are documenting this. In fact, Better India is a very, very famous portal which documents this kind of thing. They have documented our work also. Recently, Republic World and Prime Minister's Office also had sent a team to document particularly 3-4 things in this panchayat that I spoke of. The drone story, and then how holistic development has been brought about in the panchayat. So I think, yes, I totally agree with you. Case studies, case methodology is something which our country lacked. Particularly in the US, you have case studies as a very powerful medium of instruction. So things are changing, things are improving. I think, well, I'll not say improving, but things are, yes. We had this in the past. We gave it to the West. Now it's time to reclaim it.
Okay, that's the one line. See, I got Shroff, very interesting question, but I just want one line. I'll just speak one line and all others to think about it. I feel that, the creativity doesn't mean only writing or painting a picture, right? Creativity can be in terms of any sort of out-of-box thinking, all right? Whether it's in general work, etc., whatever. But if anybody wants to write, or if any civil servant wants to think literally and imagine literally, I just feel he or she should realize what Socrates said, that the evil language induces evil spirit in the soul. The misuse of language induces evil in the soul. We must be clear whether we want to speak what the word really means, right? It can't be two ways. So that is why probably Khalil Gibran also said, the lie requires to be dressed. And if you want to write poetry, that Plato will say, look, poetry should be banned. Poetry should be banned because it is it distracts you from the truth. So what I feel is writing or imagining or any sort of art or even creativity in the civil services, what matters is how much really you are proceeding towards the truth and freedom. That's what I feel, and thanks.
No, I'll have a slightly contra view. I think government does not encourage creativity. Because basically, creativity means out of the box. And government wants you to be in the box. So if you look at all the IAS officers who have done fantastic work, they have gone beyond the rules. Nobody has been able to effect a great amount of change by operating within the rules. Only when they have gone beyond the rules, they have applied their creative imagination. Okay, I'm going to interpret this GFR in this particular way, and maybe we can build a sewage plant here, not through the existing rules and things like that. That is really real creativity. But, governments are worried that, a creative thinker is an original thinker, will start thinking against the government, will start thinking those kinds of things. So I'll just end by a quote that a professor of mine in Allahabad University gave me, who later joined the civil service, became an IAS officer. He says, civil service is for mediocres.
Thank you. I endorse your views.
You have succeeded in confusing me thoroughly, Vikas.
No. I endorse his views. Those of us who have dared to be different,
Right.
have chosen ourselves at some price to pay. And not always it is.
Okay.
Not always it's free.
Right.
People hound you out for that. Why are you breaking the system? Why are you going out of this?
Thank you for your writerly honesty.
Thank you. I have a podcast on this. I could send it to you. Recent podcast on this. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have had an interesting discussion. And we thank the distinguished panelists for sharing their real life stories, not only defining the topic, which was little airy-fairy to begin with, but we brought it down to earth. Kalahandi se link kiye, Assam se link kiye, Slumdog se link. It couldn't have been more grounded than this. So we had an interesting chat. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. As we conclude this remarkable session, we are reminded that public service and literature share a common purpose: to imagine better futures and to give voice to human experience. But before we go for the felicitation ceremony, I'd like to invite Ms. Pallavi Rebapragada, author of Nandini Satpathi's biography, to convey a closing remark. Ma'am, please.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session. So we're all in Nandini Satpathi's Odisha. She was a writer, chief minister, and she had two secretaries who worked in her cabinet. One was Ramakant Rath, a Padma Bhushan writer. The other was Sitakanta Mahapatra, Gyanpith Awardee writer. So the association, as you sir put it so well, that it's a vestibule. The way bureaucrats are experiencing reality every day and multiple realities. It's a lived experience, and that's what administration is all about. I partly agree with all of you when you say, the government sort of puts us in a box and tells creativity, but then that same system is also giving us the opportunity to do so much. So we have so much to be thankful for and so much to work towards. Now, I'd like to felicitate all of you for this wonderful session. Can I please have the... All right. So there's a little bit of confusion here. Thank you so much for this wonderful session.
Just a minute, sir, please. To honor the brilliance we have witnessed, I would now like to invite Debashish Samantrai sir on stage to felicitate our esteemed speakers and moderator. Please give them a big round of applause, people. In fact,
AI is the most transformative.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, people. For the time being, I, Devanshu Singh, will be signing off, and I will pass on the mic to my co-host, Dibyanshu Dikshit.
Namaskar and welcome back, everyone. The Rig Veda wisely proclaims, Ano Bhadraha Kratvayantu Vishwataha, which translates to, let noble thoughts come to us from all directions. In our next session of 45 minutes, we explore how this ancient river of Indian wisdom continues to nourish the roots of our modern existence. To unravel the timeless truths, we are joined by the master of counter-narrative, the literary powerhouse who has a voice in the Asura and the Bahubali series, Mr. Anand Neelkantan. And guiding this confluence of minds is a scholar of public policy and the visionary co-founder of this very festival, Mr. Kamayakanta Das. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together.
Good evening. Thank you so much. And we are having this session with someone who continues to excite and continues to profoundly question and continues to profoundly reflect, ask us to reflect, and profoundly entertains us. And he is also one of the most contemporary, perhaps futuristic storytellers who uses what we call mythology, or some call history, or some call the ancient Indian stories, into relatable present-day context. And he doesn't need an elaborate introduction when he just say, Anand Neelakantan, Bahubali. And when we say this, one imagination comes to a mind, what's now? What has not he done to entertain and titillate us? Now comes the Devi series. So my initial reading of this book, which I am still continuing to read, I have read portions of it, and fascinating book. So मैं हिंदी में 2 शब्द इनके लिए कहना चाहूंगा कि देवी भागवतम से लेकर आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, टेक्नोलॉजी, सिमुलेशन, इन सबको साथ में लेकर कोई स्टोरी अगर लिख सकता है सारे भारतवर्ष में, तो वो आनंद नीलकंठन है। उनके जैसा शब्दों का मायाजाल रचना और इसको रियली अपने आंखों में होता हुआ देखना। He is one creator gifted with Mother Saraswati's and Lord Ganesha's blessings to make the reader visualize what is happening. You cannot miss a single paragraph which is not visually, imagery wise rich. Maybe Anandji is thinking about a film about it later on. We don't know. But yes. So the brief introduction about the book I'll read. In the lost archipelago of Kumari Kandam rules Queen Devi when an alien invasion sets forth on earth. ये कुमारी कंडम जो शब्द है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट शब्द है, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग शब्द है, उनके साथ हम एंगेज करेंगे ये क्या है और कहां से ये जगह आता है. Driven by ambition and motivated by science, very important the word science here, driven by ambition and motivated by science, the Asura leader. So that is a word he uses in his book, Asura Science. I'll ask him what does it mean by that. Driven by ambition and motivation, motivated by science, the Asura leader, Nakta, brings to life a half beast, half alien. We have heard about Narasingha, the half Nara and half Singha, who comes for the rescue of Prahlada as the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. Now here comes half beast, half alien, Mahisasura, who has now taken over Kumari Kandam. As this sage Agastya premonition comes to life, Devi is faced with an intergalactic war with Mahisasura. So, the author here is not happy with Kumari Kandam's war. Takes it intergalactic. Very good. With Mahisasura, which really happened, and his army to save her kingdom. Set around 70,000 years ago, 70,000 साल पहले इस स्टोरी को लोकेट किया जाता है. Mahisasura, which is the book he has written, is the ultimate ode or tribute to the supreme energy mentioned in the Devi Purana. Devi Purana, or called as Devi Bhagavatam, also builds on the Rigvedic Sukta of Devi Suktam. An exploration of the feminine divine form of Parasakti in the world of Anand Nilakantan. Science, technology, artificial intelligence clash, they fight with long lost tales from our age-old Puranas, retailing Indian mythology for modern readers like us. And none other than people like Rakesh Om Prakash Mehra writes. Anand writes in the past, in the present, in the future. This is an endorsement that has come from brilliant minds. Priyadarshan, who is a filmmaker par excellence, says Anand is a master storyteller. Rajkumar Hirani, another, the Munna Bhai fame, says Anand shows the line between a hero and a villain as just a point of view. So Anand continues to write in Ravana, continues to write in Asuras, continues to provide their own stories, sometimes makes them human instead of making them Asuras. So I will ask start with the question, why this book? Why this book now? And why the way you have approached this book, making it modern, interspersed with technology, science, and futuristic.
Thank you, sir. I want to play a small video trailer. Can you just play this about the book?
Yes, please.
So that it sets the context before I start it.
This is a fantastic book, eminently readable. Anyone who has got no sense of ancient history also will enjoy. Before the technology
It's a Maya. We are all AI, creating. What is going to happen has already happened. What if we're all living in a simulation where the world is a Maya? What if we are all AI, created by some intelligent, powerful beings? What if going to happen has already happened?
I think you are the creator, and I, the illusion, I will do with it. What is real will become unreal, and unreal will become real.
Okay, that was for setting the context. Actually, sir was right. I am envisaging this as a film, much bigger than Bahubali, much bigger than. So that is why another trailer and another 5 minutes trailer also is getting done by professionals. This is like linking the dots in our Puranas. So I need to talk about a few things which might not be familiar to many people who are very familiar with Devi Bhagavatam also, the Sanskrit Puranas also. Because just like Sanskrit, the other classical language, there are 8 classical languages in India, but the other old classical language, Tamil, has its own Puranas. And they are similar and different. So basically what is there, where the Tamil Puranas ends, that's where the Sanskrit Purana starts, literally. For example, the Matsya Avatar happens, the first person who is thought to do the Vedic sacrifice is Manu. And that Manu is considered as a Dravida Chera prince in Matsya Purana. It is to whom the Manusmriti, from his memory he writes the Manusmriti, it is to whom the entire system is given. And this epic of flood, you can find the parallels of that across the world. Like Noah's Ark, Epic of Gilgamesh. In Egyptian mythology it is there, in mythology of Maoris, in New Zealand it is there, in American Indians mythology who are totally unconnected, they also have the flood myth. What is flood myth? In Matsya Purana, Bhagavan Vishnu comes as first as Shapari, then as a Matsya. Shapari is a small fish, then it keeps becoming bigger and bigger. It warns about a flood coming, just like in Bible or in Quran, the Noah's Ark is there. Manu builds a ship. In the ship, all animals and all people are put, and the huge flood comes. And the Matsya, on its own, a rope is tied and it takes the ship to Meru at the mouth of Mother Saraswati, and from there a new civilization starts with Vedic rituals and other things. So this is how the Sanskrit Puranas start. The Tamil Puranas ends here actually. So in Tamil Puranas there is this belief that the original India, which is called Jambudvipa at that time, was an uninhabited continent, and there was actually a continent stretching from the present day Kanyakumari. The words you should, so I am just putting the dots. It's not that proof is there, I am just going through the Puranas and trying to connect the dots. Present day Kanyakumari to the entire Indian Ocean up to Australia, there was a continent. In that continent, there was a Madurai, not Mathura, the Madurai, and not the Madurai of today's Tamil Nadu, but there was a capital of Madhura where 3 kings ruled, Chera, Chola and Pandyas, of which the in Pandyan dynasty, a daughter was born. Actually, it was not born, she was found from Himalayas. Because there was a habit of these kings coming to India. It was like a expedition and going to the Kailasa mountain and planting their flags. So many of the old ancient Tamil kings' name is called Imaya Varamban, which means the one who has the borders with Himalayas. So from there, one of the Pandyan emperor called Malayadhwaja again means the one who planted the flag in the Imayam mountain, the Kailasa mountain. From there he gets a daughter and he brings them back, and she is Meenakshi or Shakti or Parvati. So it's slightly different from the usual Devi Purana. It ends there only. But it starts like this. And she had 3 breasts when she was born. So Agastya, just like Vasishta is for Rajaguru for Ram, Agastya has been from time immemorial the guru of this Tamil civilization or South Indian civilization. which in Sanskrit Purana it is told that Agastya went down to south. That also is up. Everything is interlinked actually. So Agastya gives a prophecy that her third breast will vanish when a man who is not a man, who is not a human, who is a much higher being will come and touch her, and he is the only one who is going to be his consort. He will assist her in vanquishing the greatest threat. So that is Shiva who comes down. So that how he comes down, that is all the story. Shiva, he comes down, he is called Sundaresha in Tamil. So that is Meenakshi Sundaresha, the Mother Meenakshi temple. And in this great war which happens between the Asuras and Devi, the rest of it is similar to Devi Bhagavatam, where she takes the birth of, she becomes Durga and she fights the Mahishasura. And after that, the entire continent sings during this war. By this time, Vishnu comes and Vishnu rescues one of the vassal kings, the Chera king, which again is in the Sanskrit Purana, Manu, and takes back. And there are a lot of people left behind. So actually there are two streams in the ancient Hinduism, or what we call as Hinduism now. One is the people who follow the Vedas. We think Vedas is the base of our civilization. It is one base of our civilization. There are multiple bases. Yeah. So I'll just complete it, sir. So Manu is the one who goes with the Vedas. The people who doesn't go with the Veda, who stay with the Shiva and Shakti at that time, they rescue another group of people when the continent sings, and they bring to the new Kumari. That's why it's called Kanya Kumari, the Kumari Kandams, where the Devi comes, and from there a parallel civilization starts, which doesn't follow many of the rules of the Vedic civilization, which spreads towards south and the east. So what you can find a different stream of the Shaivite and the Shaktaya worship, which doesn't go along with, very particularly along with the ritualistically with the Vedic worship. So where do these gaps come from? I am trying to fill those gaps using these two Puranas. And then, why Maya? You go to our Puranas, they talk about 14 worlds in 14 dimensions. Actually, it is not 14 worlds, there are multiple worlds. 14 is defined as 14, as a 7 plus 7. And only one world is called Satyaloka, the real world, where the Trimurtis are there. The rest of the worlds is called Maya, and it is all Bhagavan's Leela. So I took from there, what if we are all living in a simulation today, and only these are like gamers, Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, who are doing their Leela, the term they use, of which Shiva's duty is to reset. Brahma might have created this game. Vishnu is the maintenance engineer kind of thing. So that is why Vishnu, you find that he tries to create rules. Like in Gita, he says, Chaturvarnya Maya Sattam. Shiva doesn't say that. No, because he is the one who is a preserver. He sets the rules of the game.
Chief Operating Officer, CEO.
CEO. I'm just reimagining like that. Yeah. So with this kernel, I made this into a story which can resonate with today. This is the crux of it. I don't want to tell the entire story so that you won't buy the book.
So thank you for keeping that mystic, I think, mystery on. The question is, the concept of Devi has existed as long as the Saivites and Vaishnavites have existed.
Yeah.
The Shakta as a model of worship, like we call it, I think Adi Shankar calls first time, he says, I think I forgot the sloka, he says, the Bhinna Bhinna Na Kartabhyam Panchadeva Namastute. What he says that he brings in, that says, Shaurya, Ganapatya, Vaishnava, and Sakta. So Gane Narayana Rudre Ambike Bhaskare Tatha Bhinna Bhinna Na Kartabhyam Panchadeva Namastute. So Shankara brings that kind, saying whatever the sectarian, if I can use that word, or sectoral, if I can use that word, worshipping culture was there. He wanted to bring them together, saying that these are all Bhagavans who are actually capable of giving boon to be mukta or liberated. So okay, so on that, and coming back to Shakti as a philosophical a ritualistic and spiritual tradition. It has got a checkered history. And now in Devi Suktam in Rigveda itself, the Vedic literature, the Devi herself is saying कि मैं ही राष्ट्र हूं, मैं ही sovereign हूं, मैंने देवताओं को क्रिएट किया, मेरे अलावा देवताओं के कोई origin नहीं है. So that is a narrative that goes on. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all three were born from the Devi. That is one way of looking at it. Now, how have you looked at Devi in this particular narrative retailing? And when in Devi Mahatmya it says, Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita, Matru Rupena Sanstita, Vidya Rupena Sanstita. So in all forms. So how are you looking at here the form of Devi in this retailing of Mahishasura's story?
So I took from the words, it's Adi Parashakti is the if you go by Devi Bhagavatam, it's Adi Parashakti is the ultimate form of energy. She is given a feminine form, but actually, just like Brahman, you call by different names. So any saints, not just Shankaracharya, any gurus who have come, they have always tried to link together all the different streams of thoughts. Because this is for the normal human beings, they have their own parties, but ultimately it is the same.
Yeah.
So, story-wise, what I have done is, from Adi Parashakti, a slice of energy is hidden in Bhumi for the story purpose in the form of a feminine girl as Meenakshi, the mother of Meenakshi. Nakta, the character, you get hints in Puranas, both Tamil and Malayalam. Nakta means darkness. She is Mudevi, the negative energy. Philosophically, if you talk about, Nakta is dark. That's why Asuras are called Naktanjaras, the one of sons of darkness. Nakta also represents high materialistic intelligence. So Devi is a positive aspect of it, who has been hidden and who is growing up in the human form. She is hidden. Nakta finds it out, because once Nakta gets it and meets it with her own creation, that is the Mahishasura. That's what Mahishasura also tries to do. He wants to marry. They have put it in poetic form, but it is like these two energies unite, then the entire thing flips. So the night will take over, the entire thing flips. Satyaloka, the simulation will, the Maya will become Satya, Satya will become Maya. So this, they are told it in a story form. So I am taking you to the same place what they are told, written in today's language, that's all. It's nothing new I have created. It is only how you look at it and fill in the blanks. So there is this image of Devi as Kamakshi. So another big Devi's temple is Kanchi Kamakshi, like Madurai Meenakshi. Yes. So this is where in Shankaracharya also talks about the Kamakshi form of the Devi. Yes. So Kamakshi, why did that come from? Because in the war with Mahishasura, she uses the potent of the most potent force is the creative force of Kama. She uses the Kama force, the Kamakshi, that seduction she uses, that's why she is called Kamakshi, to make Mahishasura forget himself,
his
powers, and finish him off. So you find a lot of references, no? These people taking Shiva's form, anti-Shiva's form, all those things. I made it into a story format, whatever is coming in the sloka.
Right. And also, in other retellings of Devi Bhagavatam, Goddess Durga, the Supreme Madam, gets angry on the Devas, says that these are the idiots who have given boom to this Rakshasa, whom no one can kill. I have to take form and get naked before this idiot to make him forget his power. I will first destroy these Devas. She gets angry in some way. So have you looked at that as well sometime?
So here Devas, Asuras, both are like Devas lose the war, even Vishnu and Shiva lose the war in the book. I am giving away the entire book, but it's from Devi Bhagavatam. You should know that how I written it is only interesting.
Yeah.
What I have written is known for thousands of years.
Yes. And I think what happens is that all the Devatas, they come together that they give their weapons to Devi Parasakti, saying that all our powers in unison can only win in a feminine divine form. Only you can represent us and fight that. So I will come back to some of the readings. Very interesting what he has written. Chapter number 36, I'm revealing a little bit there. Page number 398. The victory of Mahisa was complete. The Devas had been routed totally. महिषासुर की युद्ध खत्म होता है और वो जीत जाते हैं और सारे देवता हार चुके हैं. Taken as prisoners, उनको बंदी बनाए गए हैं. Paraded through the streets in their half disintegrated forms. टूटे फूटे शरीर में उनको पैरेड करते हुए गलियों में लिया जा रहा है. मनु, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है यहां पे, मनु and 7 rishis, the Brahmins, and all those who had established the new Varna system were now mere slaves, dragged through the streets of Madurai in chains. मैं इसको हिंदी करता हूं. मनु, जो स्वयंभू मनु हैं, जिनको क्रेडिट दिया जाता है चतुर्वर्णा मया सृष्टवा के लिए, और सप्तर्षि और सारे ब्राह्मण जो नया वर्ण सिस्टम को एस्टेब्लिश किए हैं, वो आज दास हैं. उनको मदुराई के स्ट्रीट में उनके पैरों में बेड़ियां बांधकर खींचता हुआ लिया जा रहा है. ये इतना विविड इमेजिनेशन है. और मैं अभी पूछना चाहता हूं, आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क आनंद, सो व्हेन महिषा won the battle, why he had to arrest these people who were rishis?
First thing, Devasura war. Why was Vedic sacrifice required as per Vedas itself? It was required, Agni is taking whatever the havis you are putting into it to give to Devas and to make them powerful.
Agni becoming the mouth of the gods.
Agni is Jihva, the tongue of the gods, and it goes to the Devas. So the question I asked was, why was it required? The reason is, before the first sacrifice, Devas in this game has been created as immortals, but they can lose their body. To give back their body is why the sacrifice is done. That is why the sacrifice has to be done by certain particular people of all the entire Vedic sacrifices. Devas and Asuras have been in conflict for many, so the time what we are talking about, not the human time, for billions of years these civilizations has been fighting each other, and humans have come late to the party. Humans are not as advanced as either Devas or Asuras. Right. So it's like that intergalactic war happens, a lot of Asuras gets killed because both of them fire. So in Bhagavatam, the kind of, before the Devasura war happens, before Mahishasura was born, there was a Asura king called Ramba who fought Indra, and all kind of astras were hurled at each other, and the Asura Loka was destroyed. Some Asuras escape and come to Bhumi. That's a plot. Devaloka was destroyed, but Devas can't die, they lose their body. That's why the Vedic sacrifice was required, and to the humans it was, they were asked to do the Vedic sacrifice.
So that is why rishis were arrested.
So rishis come, so in this thing, Matsya Purana, if you see, Vishnu comes as Hayagriva, he shows the first sacrifice. For him it is Maya. He shows how, with a bow, he shows how to do the sacrifice of it. And he comes with the Saptarishis who teaches Manu the
Vedic
sacrifices.
Yes.
So that is why, to stop Devas from regaining their body and strength, Mahishasura or Nasa captures them and keeps them in, so that no, that's why in every Purana, if you see, why are the Asuras attacking only the Yagas?
Right.
They try to stop the Yagas because they don't want the Devas to get strength. So I'm just linking all these things together in the book.
Anything you would like to read? Any other segment? Anything you would like to read from the book for us? Maybe a paragraph or something, or
we can talk. Reading.
Okay, I'm reading. Then I'm reading.
Okay.
So the story continues, and it says that something can be created. We have heard about genomics. And you remember the first sheep which was actually created, gene. And then it says, we will be able to create asuras, or for that reason. And why stop at creating mere mates? We can design the perfect son, perfect daughter, perfect father, perfect mother, friend, mate, pets, or slaves. Anything is possible with designed intelligence. So what is this design intelligence? When you say about asura science, in another word, you say about asura science somewhere. What is asura science?
So I am reimagining asuras in these 14 logas are at the different level of civilization. So it's the first book in the series. So you will go into Ekshas, you will go into the other Patala, Satala, Vitala, Sutala, all those things will go as the book series progress. I am envisaging it like a Marvel film kind of the world. So these places are at the different level of civilization. So at 70,000 BC itself, like where humans have reached. So one reason why all the Puranas and other things were given, that also comes in the book, where Shiva and Vishnu have an argument. Vishnu says that humans will have to be slowed down. We'll have to give them stories. Because if their rationality and science increase, they will become like asuras. So you need to slow them down. Otherwise, this is going to happen. So asuras, why asuras are not evil per se in the Purana? Asuras are materialistic. You take Ravan, you take Hiranya, gold. Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. The gold, Swarna Lanka, the gold is denoted as the epitome of materialism. So it's materialism per se is not evil, but it's an impediment for the spiritual growth. So there is no evil good concept. It's only materialistic versus spiritual. So asuras are the science, epitome of science. They have already reached at a stage where I am reimagining, and in Puranas you find that Ravan have pushpak and various kind of astras. They know to shape shift, go. All these things are possible by science. We are yet to reach there. One day we will reach there. So these people have already reached that stage. So they are thinking about like what we have started to think with our artificial intelligence. We can create, we can clone. I am imagining that they had already thought. That is why different kind of asuras come. So next to come is Rakta Bijasura. So Nakta asks the questions, how inefficient is Earth in the book? That somebody has to sleep. You design a machine and you have to sleep. That machine goes down every day for 8 to 10 hours, like our bodies. What an inefficient design. Right. It's an inefficient design, right? Why can't I create somebody for each of these things? Why can't I create something? Like how the science is thinking, started to think now.
Yeah. So, like a robot which doesn't sleep, something like that.
I know now, and one more thing is there, one more giveaway is there. She makes it and finds that these creatures are dumb. So what she does, so in Puranas, Asura, there is this references that Asuras take away your mind also.
Yeah.
So same thing, no? Now most of Elon Musk and other people are doing the same thing. They are taking away with all your social media. They are taking away the entire your mind and it's a data collection.
Data and content.
Content. So she takes it, but what happens? A bug gets in. So when she makes a perfect Mahishasura, in earth the most important force is what? Kama.
Powerful force.
The most powerful force.
Yes.
When the human data is taken, in Mahishasura the Kama comes. The other machines it doesn't come. So that's why Devi has to use the Kamakshi pot to defeat Mahishasura.
Powerful.
Powerful. So this will happen to the present day artificial intelligence also. No? The moment it becomes more and more sentient, people will start falling in love with your Alexas and Siris. Already it is happening. People are talking more to the ChatGPTs and Geminis and sharing their top secret.
And than their friends or gurus or teachers. Like
gurus and teachers. So I am imagining a world, this is what it would have happened there.
Thank you, Anand, so much. There is so much to talk about this book. Fantastic book, very intelligibly, simply written. Anyone who understands basic English can visualize the story so well. Thank you, Anand. Continuing to creatively engage and challenge himself, because he's creating every other masterpiece, keeping all of us in mind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Time for any questions or don't have?
Anyone, any questions, anything for Anand? We have 1 or 2 minutes for 1 or 2 questions or reflections. Anyone has? अगर कोई सवाल है तो ठीक है, नहीं तो हम आनंद जी को बोलेंगे कि इस किताब को साइन करने के लिए हमारे बुक स्टॉल में पहुंचे. हाँ, यस, माइक कोई हम Anand is available for author signed copies here.
Good evening, sir. This is Anisha. I didn't know about this book. Actually, it's very like I'm out of the world, like hearing all this. So, like, sir, I wanted to ask you, how did you think of it? How did you start writing about this? What happened in your life that it made you write this type of book?
No, basically, I'm very fascinated with the various Purana worlds, the kind of imagination they had, whether it is actually happened or not. These kind of things, what they are written, if they actually happen, we should be really scared.
True.
So, which world it happened? How did it happen? So, whether we are, why is this collective memory? These are all the mysteries, if you see. I can't scientifically prove it. Why is there this memory, collective memory of a flood, which happened around this 70,000 years ago, across the world, which are unconnected? Every religion has it. Where did it come from? And where did this, now many things, I'm not saying it's totally scientifically proved, but if you follow, you go, you find that slowly, science is also reaching a place where science is suspecting that we are living in a simulation. And in Rigveda itself, this thought comes that we are all living in Brahma's dream. And then the question comes, what if that Brahma is in the dream of another Brahma? Who is dreaming about this Brahma ad infinitum? So who were these people? Either they were smoking good stuff, or they were super intelligent people who
We are not able to comprehend them.
comprehend them.
So it's just a dream that you're making it real.
So I'm just introducing this to the younger generation to go back and read it and just don't go by the television series which I myself have created. That's for the masses. But for the intelligent people, read the books. So I have written 14 television series so far. That is for the masses. It is just following the Puranas.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take some pictures with Anand with the book, please.
My deepest gratitudes to Sir Anand Neelkantan for showing us that truth often lies in the eyes of the believer. Narrative, and to Mr. K.K. Das for being a part of this civilized dialogue. As we depart, let us remember that knowledge is that which liberates the person and the soul. This is your host, B. Dibyansha Dikshit, signing off. Thank you for being a patient audience.
What if? We're all living in a simulation and the world is a Maya. What if we are all AI, created by some intelligent, powerful being? What if what is going to happen has already happened?
You think you are the creator, and I, a mere illusion. I will flip it. What is real will become unreal. And unreal will become real.
Hello everyone, we will be continuing with the next session. Namaskar, I am Devanshu Singh, your host for this session of the Kalinga Literary Festival, Kashmir, a Literary Way Forward. Kashmir has always been more than a place. It is a story, a memory, and a metaphor for resilience. Literature and cinema have given voice to its complexities, carrying its narratives for beyond the valley. Please join me in inviting Rahul Pandita, journalist and author, recognized for his fearless reporting from conflict zones and honored with the International Red Cross Award. His acclaimed works, including Hello, Buster, and Our Moon Has Blood Clots, have shaped narratives on insurgency, displacement, and resilience, while his writing continues to illuminate the human cost of conflict. And guiding this dialogue, Lipika Bhushan, award-winning publishing professional and founder of Market My Book, a long-time contributor to the literary world. She has also published poetry and short fiction, and her presence as moderator today ensures a thoughtful and engaging conversation. Sir, ma'am, please come onto the stage. Please give them a big round of applause. Well, over the next 40 minutes, we will explore how literature can offer a way forward for Kashmir, weaving stories of memory, identity, and hope. Let us begin this important dialogue. Over to you, sir and ma'am.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Namaskar. At times, I think it's a very random decision for Kalinga to put me into sessions which, vary from children's books to something as important and significant as Kashmir. But when I sit here and start mulling over the kind of course I would like this discussion to take shape, I realize that there is so much that I can relate to. And there are so many personal experiences that I can relate to whenever I'm talking on a subject. So thank you, Kalinga, for giving me these challenges. And thank you, Rahul. I think this is the first time we are interacting on this subject, and I've been following you very closely. I've been following your work. I've been following all what you've said about Kashmir. But let me start with a personal anecdote. I have a brother-in-law who was just 1 year old in 1991 when he had to flee with his older sisters in a truck full of apples. He had to hide. His mother had to hide them inside the truck in order to ensure that they live and see through whatever challenges Kashmir was facing at that time, and they moved to Jammu, permanently displaced. The conflict persisted, continued, grew, and with every decade, some new challenges came up. We've all been trying to find solutions. I mean, I'm not sure if the abrogation alone can be, said to have actually solved a problem. Because what we don't see is that when any policy is made or any laws are made, many a times the people who've lived that experience, who are living that experience, people who are part of that society, their history is so deeply ingrained in that society, their culture, they share, even though they come from very different, sets of ideologies or faith systems, there is a common thread there. And whenever laws are enforced or whenever there is a situation or a policy that tries to help a particular region to move to the next step, we see a new set of problems arise. So let me start with the current situation. How do you view, there is an entire generation that has lived out of Kashmir, of Kashmiri Pandits. There is a problem we all accept. We know slightly better off in the last few decades as to what happened, which was earlier probably shoved under the carpet, was not talked about. But now, there is a lot more information available, at least in the public domain, and people know what happened. And there are generations that have lived away. There's a sense of displacement, and there is a sense of disconnect as well. Has this aspect of this law that has been introduced and the abrogation that happened, do you really think it has changed things at the ground level for both the communities? I would not restrict it to just the Pandit community, which has been deeply aggrieved.
So I'll answer this question in two parts. One is what happened in the aftermath of the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits, which mostly happened in a matter of few months between January 1990 and October-November 1990. Now, when this minuscule population was forced to leave from Kashmir, most of us had this idea in our heads that this is going to be temporary. I remember when my own family left in the April of 1990, we carried a couple of suitcases. And that's the story of most of us, thinking that, this is a temporary situation. We have faced this situation in varied forms before also. I mean, there have been riots and, the minority was targeted before also, from 47 onwards and so on. So this too shall pass. But as time passed, we realized that that's not the case. And later we realized that the exodus is permanent. But in the initial months, we also had this impression that after the exodus has happened, looking at the plight of this minority, the mainland India will rise. I remember this professor who was a friend of my father, and in a refugee camp, he told my father in 1990, I was just 14 years old. He said that I'm expecting rallies at the boat club in India Gate. That is where, the agitation used to happen. But of course, it did not happen. Now, my book came out in 2013, and even after that, people came to me and say, we had very little idea about what had happened. What we knew of the situation of Exodus was essentially based on little pamphlet from, one political party or something or the other, but we had absolutely no idea about this. But now I think because of films and because of, general debates on social media, etc., I think it's very safe to say that it's fairly known now. Most of us know what happened to Kashmiri Pandits in 1990. I think now the time has come to kind of look beyond that and see what has happened. What are the marks the turbulent events of 1990 have left for both Kashmiri Hindus and Kashmiri Muslims? And these are many. In my novel, the protagonist is a man called Neil, who comes back from US and he wants to wash his clothes, but his father says that wash them tomorrow because there is no water. Now, these are memories of, that terrible time when the Kashmiri Pandits were left with no one. But also at the same time, what happened in Kashmir from 1990 onwards. It was also a dark chapter for many common Kashmiri Muslims there. And the kind of effect it left on their psyche. Now, as a Kashmiri Pandit, I cannot go back to Kashmir. But as a journalist, I go very often. And I speak to a spectrum of people. And sometimes what I see on the ground worries me a lot. Several years ago, I was traveling with a small group of boys who were stone pelters. They were all university, college educated boys. And I have this standard operating procedure in Kashmir. When I go, apart from friends who know I am, when I'm meeting a new person, I usually avoid telling them that I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, because then the conversation goes into other direction, and they talk about what happened in 1990, and sometimes as a journalist you're not interested in those conversations. You're interested in the immediacy of what you come there looking for.
Right.
And I was traveling with these people, and I realized that they are talking about a boy who was fleeing away from the police, and he fell and his skull broke. What worried me about this conversation was the nonchalance with which the normalcy of death. And one of them was even laughing, as if it was some comic sight. So that makes you realize what has happened. Now, coming to part two of your to your question, when the abrogation happened, the immediate response of TV channels was to go to certain pockets of Kashmiri Hindus here and there and create this comic character of three Hindus coming together and sharing a laddu. And making them do a little stuff as if they are celebrating the abrogation of 2019. Now, politically, it may have been a wise decision or not. That's not the point. The point is, the abrogation has happened 7 years back now. What has it done in Kashmir? Politically speaking, it it has created a little dent in this terrorist infrastructure, etc., etc. But as far as the the return of Kashmiri Pandits, for example, is concerned, has it done anything? Absolutely not. Sometimes my friends say, will you go back, or will the new generation go back? The answer is no. The other dilemma from the Kashmiri Pandit point of view is the new generation of Kashmiri Pandits. I'm people who are in their 20s, and they are part of a conversation which is perpetually happening at their home. Stories told to them by their grandparents or even parents, and then they go out in their institutions where the conversation is completely different. the contradiction of these two separate streams of consciousness sometimes leaves them very confused. And when I'm doing an event here and there, sometimes they come to me and say, how do we deal with this? Now, it's a very difficult question, all right? Because the previous generations, they carry a baggage of past. And it's unfair to expect the new generations to carry the same baggage of past. Of course, they must remember what happened to their grandparents or parents in the summer, in the spring and summer of 1990. But to carry the bitterness of that past with their lives, I think it's a little unfair to them. So whenever they speak to me, I give them this little advice that while they should remember what happened, and they should give a little leeway to what their grandparents are, grandfather is saying, but they should not let this stain their own experience of the world outside. They have to form their own opinion about the world. The other problem is, where is the common ground?
It's very difficult, actually, now that when you share this experience of this young boy, whose skull broke, and then it was so normal to see such sight for youngsters living in that part of the country, and youngsters who have been forever born and brought up outside of that part, but have a connect through their parents and grandparents. How do you really think of finding a common ground for both of them to come together, leave their pasts behind, and move ahead in a positive direction? I have been to Kashmir a few times on work. And the sense I got, it was in early 2000s, and the sense I got was of extreme hate, which you cannot deny. No matter how much our films at times try to, romanticize and talk about it in a positive way, but it was very evident. Every few years when you go back, probably the only thing that might have changed for now could be that the murmurs, they've gone into murmurs. It's not very open when they talk about it. How do you see them find the common ground? Because what we see from outside is what is being fed to us by either films or the media, which are two different extremes. And with so much of noise around, how do you find a young mind actually coming and sitting and having a chat that, okay, no, we need to find a solution? Especially when you yourself say that it's been 7 years since abrogation and still we don't see people going back. The youngsters have permanently been disconnected. And I don't see that, why would there be a reason for them to go back to a city which is constantly, still a conflict zone, so to say?
I think, personally speaking, I have, there's no hope from my generation or the generation before that. Their sense of history is completely stained from their own experiences. The experiences of Kashmiri Hindus in, post 1990, and the experience of that generation of Kashmiri Muslims post 1990 in Kashmir Valley. So in many ways, they have become prisoners of their own histories. And there are a few exceptions here and there, but I do not think that they are willing or open to explore the idea of what would have happened to the other people. Now, of course, in personal capacities, the way people of my generation held it, we had friendships. We still have friendships in Kashmir, but we chose a stance which is not necessarily brave, which is to say that when I would have a conversation with my friends in Kashmir, we would completely avoid the topic of 1990. And of course, you have other things to talk about. Your culture is same in so many ways. Your language is same. You understand each other's jokes. You understands the ticks of your each other's parents. You understand the tick of that uncle who's sitting there, and you can have a laugh at it. But as far as the events of 1990 were concerned, we completely overlooked it. In personal conversations, sometimes these things come up, and there's a little acceptance here among both sides. Sometimes the person, the Kashmiri Muslim, for example, would say that terrible stuff happened in 1990 and so on and so forth. And the Kashmiri Pandit will also give him a little acceptance of what happened to them in 1990. Post 1990, it was a terrible time. Now we forget those times when an entire village would be made to sit in a school compound on their haunches from 9 to 5, and some person would be sitting in a gypsy, would be called a cat or a mukbir. And if he, God save you, if he had any personal grudge against you, he would just have to signal and the army would whisk you off and take you away. So all these things were happening, but we had absolutely no common ground to talk about this. But I think now in the newer generations, younger generations, there seems to be some sort of dialogue in neutral territories. This dialogue cannot obviously happen in Kashmir. But outside Kashmir, in Delhi or in the United States or elsewhere, some dialogues here and there are happening. This was also something which used to happen in the previous generations. And the previous generation, sometimes an old man would come and say to a young man, please don't do this. And there was there's a word in Urdu we use, lihaz. There's a lihaz that the old person has said. But I saw it breaking down in Kashmir, in front of your eyes. Once I was part of a procession, and the procession immediately, part of it broke into stone pelting in old Srinagar. And we all started running helter and skelter. So there's this young boy of, 7-8 years old who was pelting stones at the police. And this old man, who must have been in his 70s, he came to him and said, what the hell are you doing, young kid? You'll get hurt. Don't do this. And the young kid looked at him, just 7-8 years old. He said, old man, go do your business. Don't teach me what to do. So that tells you the complete breakdown of certain things in the society. The other thing which really worries me is even after the abrogation, the government sometimes calls it a success, and from some parameters of insurgency, the way from a security point of view, the way domination happens in places which were absolutely gone at one point in time, especially after July 2016, when the militant commander Burhan Wani was killed. There were zones in South Kashmir which are absolutely almost liberated. So there is a dominion over, from a purely security point of view. But in the society itself, I'm afraid the radicalization is much more than, say, 2015, as of now. And I do not see a way from government or from the civil society to tackle this radicalization in any way.
That's a shocking fact that you shared here, because most of us from the other parts of the country, have a very different, as I said, a very different view, which is usually formed from what you're fed in. But अगर हम बात करें राहुल, तो it is again the question goes back to the point that 90s was not the first time that this exodus happened. It's been happening over decades. And एक समय था जब तक at least the society had both people from both faiths, living with each other, knowing each other's traditions, also the limits. But there is an entire generation which has been brought up minus that other side of the society. And expecting, how fair is it to expect them to have a radical change in their opinions and views, living inside that part of the country, and start accepting this change to the extent that they allow, because we still hear stories of people being shot down if they are wanting to settle back again, and it's not comfortable still, it's not secure still for Kashmiri Pandits to go back. While there is media, while there is the visual medium which creates a sense, do you really think literature in some way, or have there been enough voices coming out from the valley that have been able to not only capture but also try, at least from their end, to find some solutions or accept that there were issues, accept that each side was wronged, some by way of faith, some by way of the policies or the political setup. Do you really think literature can find a way and find a solution, especially given the fact that a lot is fed in through social media, which is much more quicker and goes viral quickly? How far do you really think this entire discussion around finding a literary way into the Kashmir problem is a possibility? You did mention about civil society not doing enough, but does writing and continuously writing, we don't have Mehak here, but she has given us an alternate view of longing, loss, love in the torn times and conflict zones. Do you really think it's only just one kind of stories that are coming out, or there's not enough being written about Kashmir still?
I think we have a long way to go. There is very little of a very long time which has come out. I mean, purely from my point of view, the story of Kashmiri Pandits, for example, has so many strands, and those strands have not been dealt with at all. I was speaking to a young Kashmiri Pandit journalist who works in Delhi, and I was telling her about this. She comes from a generation, who has not seen the exodus herself, and she grapples with the larger world around her, which is completely different from what you had. There's a legitimate story there, a personal story of kind, about how how a Kashmiri Pandit of that generation, who is also expected to carry this baggage of their grandparents or parents, tackles with the larger world. I think a very big part of what happened in Kashmir in 1990 is absolutely not been written about. We have perpetual landmarks like Kunan Poshpura and a couple of other things, and everyone is obsessing about that. But so far, I have not. I'm yet to see a wonderful record from a literary point of view about a time from 89 to 99, for example. What really happened in that particular 10 years when there was absolutely no social media, there were no cell phones, at least in that part of the world. And, we are completely at odds. I've done a book on the Pulwama suicide attack, which came out in 2021. And while researching that book, I was speaking to this BSF commandant who, by a sheer chance of luck, got to kill Ghazi Baba, who was the mastermind of the parliament attack. And he was telling me some really fascinating stories about how his company, which came from Bengal for the first time, I think in 92, 93, was sent to Kashmir for the first time. And how the men working under him had absolutely no idea what a terrorist is. So in their heads, terrorist was someone who was like a devil, जैसे उसके कोई सींग आने वाले हैं उसके बाद उसको, so they started asking me questions like, how do we know who is a terrorist? They had absolutely no idea about these things. So, there are so many stories from that time. What happened in villages? What happened in orchards? What happened in cities? What did the Kashmiri Muslim terrorists do to their do to Kashmiri Muslims? There's absolutely no account of that. There was a time when in South Kashmir, anyone who would raise a voice against a radical organization like Jamaat Islami was not even allowed to bury his dead in the local burial ground. There are cases where they had to bury their dead inside the premises of their house. This isn't, these are cases in South Kashmir. So we do not have stories like this. We do not have stories of young Kashmiri Muslims who who grew up after after this curfew, etc., was over. How do they look at the generation of Burhan Wani, for example? We also do not have much participation from non-Kashmiris. I mean, fashionably, yes. Like I said, you look at you take these 3-4 landmarks because your knowledge about Kashmir is very inadequate, and you do a very ornamental rendering of these stories, and you think you've done your job. But there is this absolute need of even outsiders. We have gone to other places. I have gone to Bastar, for example. I'm an outsider in Bastar, but I've spent a hell lot of time there. Sometimes a local is also oblivious or blind to so many things which he or she takes for granted.
True.
It sometimes needs the fresh eyes of an outsider to look at those things. And I hope that happens in case of Kashmir, beyond these nonsensical binaries of left and right, where we don't have to necessarily contain our stories just because it's fashionable to say A in 2015 and it's fashionable to say think B in 2026.
But then, if you are talking about hearing and trying to get more voices out, and literature should reflect much more of what is what happened in that society in the 90s, and of course you identify with that time period much more. At the same time, there is this input or noise which says that you should not view episodes in isolation, which you also agree to, but go back to the history. And history has always been very difficult. It's been very uncomfortable. Given that, and taking that into perspective, how do you feel that, it's a great idea for somebody from outside to go, but when you see there's a perceived threat still, how do you feel that, when there is an ideological imbalance or an imbalance of demography in terms of, not having enough voices from the other side, or it's very natural for people to take binaries, and many a times it will be towards the larger side of, which is more prominent side, and that prominent side might pose a threat as well. How do you view? How will you at all have people go there and view and tell about Kashmir from a fresh eye? That's exactly, is bringing us back to the point that post-abrogation, even today, people have a threat to face, which they face there in Kashmir. And not just the locals or the people who faced exodus, but people who come from outside. Outsiders are killed. So
it's again a very difficult terrain. Sometimes the new generation of Kashmiri Muslims, for example, they have absolutely no idea how it was to live in a world, in a universe which coexisted with Kashmiri Pandits in that particular area. They've never lived like that. All they have seen this homogeneous culture with everyone around them talking in a similar fashion, absolute same thing. So sometimes when we go to, a journalist, or even some of my friends have, out of sheer nostalgia, they go back to some clusters where Kashmiri Pandits used to live in slightly large numbers, and where houses are deserts or deserted completely, or post 1990, some massacres also happened of Kashmiri Pandits who chose to remain behind. There was one in Sangrampura, one in Nadi Marg, one in Vandhama. And sometimes you go there and, some of those houses are still standing there. And you go there and it's completely, the houses, etc., the entire area is taken over by a wilderness. And you go there sometimes and, these young kids will come who are 10 years old, 12 years out, they see an outsider, they come there out of curiosity. And you ask them, do you know who Kashmiri Pandits were? So they're absolutely, they're little, it makes them a little tense because they do not know how to answer this question. And then, they're very, very straight faced. They say, yeah, we know. They used to live here in these houses. So do you know how they look like? They have absolutely no idea how they look like. In their minds, they're supposed to look different from everyone else. And then there will be a Kashmiri Pandit who'll say, I'm a Kashmiri Pandit, and then he's a little embarrassed. He's a little shy, but then he'll still glances at you to check why you should be even looking like his own uncle or his own father. So that thing keeps on happening. But as far as the return is concerned, we get asked this question many times. And apart from the pain of it, or apart from the romance of it, where we like to say that, like the Jews, we like to say next year in Jerusalem, I think from a very cold surgical point of view, and this is more from a journalistic point of view than someone, who is in love with that place. I don't see the return happening. Not in my lifetime. It's extremely difficult. Like I said, this lack of common ground is absolute. The other thing is that we shifted in 1990, for example. My father has never gone back, and some people have gone back, but I really do not want him to go back.
Is it the fear?
No, it's not the fear. It's about he'll be devastated to see a Kashmir which has absolutely no place for someone like him. I've been to Kashmir multiple times since 1998, hundreds of times as a journalist. And the only time when I visited the home we left behind in the suburbs of Srinagar was in 2007 when I was researching my memoir, and I wanted to visit my home to kind of write about it. And I did spend a couple of hours in that house where I grew up. But after I came back, I regretted that decision very much because it sullied the idea of that particular place, which was absolutely intact in my mind. And I write in my memoir, Our Moon is Blood Clots, at one place, I describe that particular place. In the first floor of my house, there used to be a little a room where we had this bookshelf. And I very vividly remember that bookshelf. So my father's sister used to read this book called Julus by Phaneshwar Nath Renu, and there was complete works of Swami Vivekanand and Gandhiji's, the story of my experiments with truth, with a handwritten note by Gandhiji, because he had come to Kashmir just before the tribal invasion in 1947. And when I visited that place in 2007, and I requested the new occupants of the house that I be, because I had very vivid memory of that particular room, which was essentially my room where I kind of spent most of my time. It had completely, the contours of that room had changed, and the bookshelf, where that bookshelf was, it was turned into a rack for storing vegetables. Now it comes, and there was an apple tree in the courtyard, and the apple tree was gone. And the new occupants, and practically so, they had absolutely no emotional bond with that with the tree. I asked them about the tree. They said it was occupying too much space, and the family is big. They needed more space to construct some additional things. Now, I had gone there in order to click some pictures so that I could show it to my father. My mother was also alive at that point in time. When I came back, I chose not to show them, show those pictures to them, because it would have completely sullied their idea of home, like it did um, in my case. So yes, so the return is completely it's it's not possible. Of course, you can go every now and then, as many of us now go, and we visit our shrines, or we do business, or we are on some vacation with our family. We do that, but apart from that, I don't see any chance of permanent return.
इट्स हार्ट ब्रेकिंग राहुल. मतलब ये वाकई आपका दिल तोड़ता है कि 2025 में आप एक सभा में बैठे हैं, you're sitting in a festival and you're accepting that probably in your lifetime you won't see the Pandits return to the valley. This sense of displacement and is you make it sound so permanent. I come from Uttarakhand. I hail from Uttarakhand. My parents left their homes very young to build a life for themselves, and they shifted to Delhi. And it was only after my father passed away that I went back to the village home, and it was in a state of disaster. And sometimes I feel that I'm so glad that my dad did not go back to that home when he was alive, because it would have completely shattered him. He had such memories of the different parts of the home that he was born and brought up in. But at least, for us, we have gone back and rebuilt it. I can only hope and pray. And I do know that जो बोले हुए शब्द नहीं कर सकते, वो लिखे हुए शब्द उस तरह का प्रभाव छोड़ सकते हैं. तो I can only hope and pray that more and more writing comes out and people from both sides of the spectrum get to read those books and literature and writings to understand each other's perspective, and at least there is a start somewhere. And I also hope that in your lifetime you are able to see a Kashmir which has both the communities coexist. Thank you so much for being a patient audience. Thank you. And I know I've overshot the time, but I had more questions, but I would love to, take this conversation after this. Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. But I guess we can have some questions from the audience.
Oh, that will be lovely. Why
Yeah,
don't we
sure,
have
sure.
some questions
Can we
from
please
the audience?
pass on the mic to sir?
Guys, thank you very much. It's been very enlightening. Rahul, if you don't mind sharing with us that how has this impacted your family culturally, and how did it kind of, how was the period of adjustment? Did you personally growing up see the change in your family? And if you could shed some light on that.
So I think the initial years after the exodus were particularly tough for most of us. Like I said, in our heads, this idea that we had to leave our homes was very temporary, because we thought that we're going to come back. But as days passed into weeks and weeks passed into months, this realization, when it started to dawn upon us that this exodus is going to be permanent, it was extremely tough to deal with. The other thing is that it was particularly tough on people of my father's generation. Imagine as a 40-year-old man, you absolutely lost everything, and you are on the streets living in a small 10 by 10 room. You don't know where your next meal is going to come from. I'm older than my father when in 1990, but I shudder to put myself into his shoes and think about the larger concerns of family. I remember that time was extremely difficult because most of us were living in these refugee camps. It's one room dwellings, and I remember of course the official killing is about the number of Hindus who were killed was about 700. But I remember in the first few years, like 90, 91, 92, so many elderly people died post, their migration in these little camps because they could not deal with the idea of exodus. This change in climatic condition, change in their situation, in their life situation. So many died of snake bites, sunstrokes, depression. But what is really poignant and also very sad that even after 30 years, I have some extended family still in Jammu. Even after 30 years, we still see some people, elderly people who are on the verge of their deathbed. And they suddenly lose the sense of space and time. And they suddenly begin to think that they're still in Kashmir. Just about 4 or 5 days back, there was, this little clip went viral from Jammu, where this elderly man who is suffering from dementia, he went missing from his home. Then he was found in a market square. It's easy to find a person in Jammu because it's a small town. He was made to sit on a chair, and he said that, no, I'm safe here because I'm in Kashmir. But sometimes there are also unsaid things which leave a mark on you. And I'll share a personal story with you. My father, who's almost 80 now, has never talked about Kashmir ever, about what happened or what happened after that. In the April of 2021, in the second terrible wave of COVID, both of us got down with COVID, and since he has comorbidities, his COVID was extremely severe. And once early in the morning, I was sleeping in my room, and he came holding a bag in his hands. So I was completely shocked to see him. I said, "What happened?" He said, "We have to leave this place because the terrorists are here." In his little illness, he recovered from that illness, thankfully, but in his illness, he had started to look at the events of 1990, which he has never, by the way, talked about for 30, 35 years. But that's also a common phenomena among victims of migration. People who had to leave Pakistan, for example, and came to India in 1947. I have known people who have never spoken about them, but towards the end of their lives, they suddenly became conscious. In the Punjabi, they use a word called tik. Tik means attack. The attack happened. So in Punjabi, they say tik pa gayi, which means the attack is happening, we have to leave. So I think some of these events in your life leave a permanent mark on you.
So does it make you more resilient, or does it make you more conscious of the fact that something can just fall apart at the drop of the hat?
I wish it made us more empathetic towards the situation of people who are facing similar situations. But in most cases, we become trapped with our own histories, and we refuse to look at the suffering of others. That is what is sad about it.
True. Ma'am, you had a question. Can we have a mic there, please?
Yes, sure, ma'am.
Rahul, thank you very much for sharing all the experiences of your family and other members of the Kashmir. I was just wondering if you had any views on how the international community has portrayed the situation in Kashmir. And I live in Australia, and the first discussions I got embroiled in were all the rank and file of Amnesty International, where I think people have just picked up issues without understanding the context and the complexity. And, we were the big bad Hindus messing up with the Muslims. And there was a real resistance to look at what else had happened. And it was nothing as simple. And I think to some extent, at least over there, it's that attitude still persists. Do you have any views on that?
I think in the initial years, the international media was completely biased about it. In the sense, but that's, as a journalist, I also said that that's also the nature of the beast. Journalism functions in a certain blind way. So what happened in Kashmir's case is that the minority left. It's a small minority of about 350,000 people. They left and they went elsewhere. But a lot of things were still happening in Kashmir. The guns were there, the militancy was there, the question of an outside angle was there. Quote unquote, the sexy insurgency was happening there. So obviously, it's but obvious that the international community, the international press, in that sense, was kind of interested in that. I think the other shortcoming of the Kashmiri Pandit story was that from this, terrible point of view, it also became identified in this country with the so-called right-wing cause. Because a certain political party took up this issue in the early 90s, and suddenly everyone started forgetting about the real tragedy and identifying it with with a particular cause. That was completely tragic about it. So I think that that has kind of persisted over the years. Your question also makes me, anecdotally, I would share this with you. I think they're in a hurry. But many years ago, in this refugee camp in Jammu, a delegation from European Union came. And this old man, he kind of insisted among Kashmiri Pandits that he should be the one speaking to this delegation. So when he started talking, he brought in a lot of history from 14th century onwards, and the delegation has very little time. And the rest of the Kashmiri Pandits wanted him to focus on the immediacy of it. What has happened to them post 1990, etc., etc. So most of the time was wasted in him telling them about the historicity of the old the stories. When the delegation left, these people pounced upon him and asked him why did he do it. To which he very wisely replied. He said, these people have absolutely no idea. So I have to give them an arc of history for them to understand what has really happened to us. So sometimes, these outbursts tell us everything about how certain groups or, certain communities have perceived this problem as.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. As we draw this session to close, let us remember that Kashmir's story is not just one of conflict, but of creativity, courage, and continuity. Through the lens of literature and journalism, we glimpse not only its pain, but also its poetry, the quiet strength of its people, the enduring beauty of its culture, and the hope that springs from honest storytelling. With that, I would really like to thank Rahul sir and Lipika ma'am for guiding us through this journey with such depth and grace. Your voices remind us that narratives can heal, illuminate, and inspire. Thank you so much. Please give them a big round of applause, people. And with that, this session is over. And I am Devanshu Singh, signing off for the day. Thank you.
गुड इवनिंग आप सभी को, शुभ संध्या। आप सभी को एक छोटा सा अनुरोध है कि कोई अभी सेंट्रल हॉल से ना जाए, क्योंकि कुछ ही देर में वी आर गोइंग टू परफॉर्म अ क्लासिकल फोक इंस्ट्रूमेंटल मर्दला। सो मैं चाहता हूं कि आप सब यहां पे उपस्थित रहे और हमारी ओडिशा की संस्कृति और परंपरा को देखें, सुने, महसूस करें। कुछ ही समय में आ रहा है।
check. Sound. Honey.
Hello. शुभ संध्या समस्त को सर्वप्रथम मु एठारे उपस्थित थिबा प्रत्येक अतिथि तथा दर्शक मान को अनुरोध करी कि दया करी आग को आसी जातु यांत्रिक त्रुटि जो आम पाखरे माइक रो व्यवस्था नथिबारु शब्द बा जो ध्वनि बा जो संगीत आपण माने उपभोग करिया पे चाहूछंती ताहा बोधे दूर रे बसिले आपण सुनी पारि न पारंती सेति पय आमे आपण समस्त को अनुरोध करूछु कि दया करी आग सीट को आसी जातु प्लीज सर एंड मैम्स प्लीज आप सारे आगे आ जाइए all the volunteers, all the guests, all the audience, please come in the front rows. आप आगे आ जाइए ताकि संगीत को, म्यूजिक को, ध्वनि को अच्छे से सुन पाए, एंजॉय कर पाए. पुणी थरे कलिंग साहित्य उत्सव परिवार तरफ मु आपण समस्त को स्वागत करुछि आजिर एई सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम रे. सभ्यतार आरंभ ध्वनि विद्यमान ओम आकार रे एही ध्वनि मनीष भितर संबंध सृष्टि करि थाए. ध्वनि रो लयर सृष्टि हला एवं सेई लयर संगीतर सृष्टि हला. सेई संगीत लय ध्वनि को बांधि रखिबार कार्य कला वाद्य यंत्र. मार्दल होछि आम ओडिशार एक प्राचीन वाद्य यंत्र. एही वाद्य यंत्र श्रीमंदिर परंपरा बा जगन्नाथ परंपरा रु आसी अछि. आज आम मानक गहन रे कलाकार माने आदिताल 16 मात्रार परिवेषण करिवे. आज आम गहन रे जो कलाकार माने अछंती मार्दल रे अछंती सर सीताकांत जेना, दीपक नायक, सोमकांत मल्लिक. हार्मोनियम रे तांकर सहयोग करूछंती देवाशीष राउत एवं मंजीरा रे अछंती निशिकांत पलाई. मु समस्त को अनुरोध करी जोरदार ताली देकी समस्त को स्वागत करंतु।
हेलो एठारे उपस्थित थिबा समस्त गुणीजन को प्रणाम जनाउछु। आमे आज आदिताल परिवेशन करिवु। माइक टिके प्रॉब्लम अछि टिके धीरे सुभा जीव। आपण टिके समस्त आगु पळे आसंतु तो ठीक सुभा जाई पारे भाबुची। आमे आरंभ करिबा। आमे प्रथम जमाना आरंभ करिवु जाकि 6टा पर्याय रे एटा प्रथम पर्याय जमाना जाकु कुआ जाय मर्दल रे। इथरो आमे प्रथम पर्याय आरंभ करियौ जाउछु। जीवा जय जगन्नाथ। एटा एक हस्ती बाणी। धिना किटा धिनी तक धिनी धिना किटा धिनी धिना किटा धिनी ता धिना किटा धिनी तक धिना किटा धिनी तक धिना किटा धिनी धिना किटा धिनी तक धिना किटा धिनी तक धिना किटा धिनी तक धिनी धिना किटा धिनी धिना किटा धिनी தாகிடுதுக்கு தாகிடுதுக்கு தா 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 ଆମେ ଏବେ ଚଉଗତିର ଗଡ଼ ବାଦନ କରିବୁ ଯାହାକି 4ଟି ଗତିରେ ଅଛି। एटा तृतीय पर्याय जहाँकि रगड़। धिना गिटा धिनी तक धा तद्धा धिना गिटा धिनी तक धा तद्धा धिना गिटा धिनी तक धा अगर तद्धा तगिटे धिनी तक 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 तगिटे धिनी तक धिना गिटा धिनी तक धा तद्धा धिना गिटा धिनी तक धा तद्धा धिना गिटा धिनी तक धा अगर तद्धा। साउंड नहीं तो आमको शुणा प्रोब्लेम हो तो टिके डिस्टर्बेंस हो आप मैप करेंगे जहाँ भूल हो। एबे मध्य लय रे आमे वादन करबा को जीवु विलंबित लय सरला चारिटा पर्याय एबे मध्य लय रे आमे अरसा वादन करूँ जाति वादन करूँ तापर द्रुत लयକୁ ଯିବା। प्रथमे आम तीसर जाति जावा पंच जाति भितर तीसर जाति जावा तापरे खंड जावा तापरे मिश्र जावा। तीसर माने तीन तीन रे सब बाजिबा भी 8 मात्रा बाजुची तादरे आम सब तीन तीन रे बजेबू। Dinda tinata tata tinata tata tinata Grinda tinata tata tinata tata tinata ये घंटमर्दल पार्टी आम ए तीसर सरला आम खंड जाति जहाँकि 5 निबद्ध माने आमर एक मात्रा पर 5 आसुथिबो धागे धातिटी ताक तातिटी ताक तातिटी धागे धातिटी ताक तातिटी ताक तातिटी ताक तातिटी धागे धातिनी ताक तातिनी ता आम जो ताली मारिलु एटा बाजुची खंड जाति 5 थिला आम ताली भी 5 आसुला प्रथम थर मारुथुलु 2टा सेकेंड रे मारुथुलु 3टा 2 + 3 5 आसुला आम एबे मिश्र जाति रे हनुमानंकर एक शब्द स्वर पाठ जीवा जेमती हिंदुस्तानी रे दुर्गा परन गणेश परन एम थाए एमती आम ओडिसी रे शब्द स्वर पाठ कह जाए आम एबे मिश्र जाति रे शब्द स्वर हनुमानंकर शब्द स्वर पाठ जीवा आम टिके रिक्वेस्ट करूँ भाई को साउंड भाई को जदि एमती आ 2टा माइक दे दियंते आमको टिके सुविधा होता बजाइबा किसी ना बेसी साउंड नहीं हल्का रे 2टा माइक दे देले आमको टिके सुविधा होता दे पारिबे कि चल आराम से पूरा हल्का साउंड जमी आम केवल आम ऑडियंस आम शुणे जमी आ किसी दरकार नहीं जोर साउंड दरकार नहीं हाँ बढ़िया थैंक यू सो मच भाई थैंक यू धेगी धे थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी एक मात्रा पर 7 चलछि धेगी धे थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी धेगी धे थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ता धेगी धे थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक धेगी धे थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ताकिटे ताक थिनी ता पवन पुत्र केशरी नंदन जानती सभिए से जे हनुमान पवन पुत्र केशरी नंदन जानती सभिए से जे हनुमान महावीर बजरंगी वीर मध्ये श्रेष्ठ से ही महावीर बजरंगी वीर मध्ये श्रेष्ठ से धागिर दिगदा 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 तक 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 दिगदा श्रेष्ठ राम करंती हृदय वास राम भक्त बानरे श्रेष्ठ राम करंती हृदय वास धिनिता धिनि धिनि धिनिता धिनि धिनिता धिना धिनिता धिनिता आमर ए त्याहीरे हनुमानकर जेतेक नाँ अछि सब कुहाजिब अंजनेय मारुति बजरंगी त्रिगर्धिना कीटितक हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता अंजनेय मारुति बजरंगी त्रिगर्धिना कीटितक हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता अंजनेय मारुति बजरंगी त्रिगर्धिना कीटितक हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता हम हनुमंता बलवंता ता हम हनुमंता बलवंता था आमे बे अरसा वादन करिवु मर्दल ये जगह पहुंची आप समझ जानी गुरु श्री धनेश्वर स्वाई को जानी तांकर एक अरसा आम गुरु भाई वादन करेंगे आमर से निजे बड़न को डाकी वादन
धलंग तक दिनि दा तक दरि किट तक गदिगन दा दिना किट तक दिना किट तक दिना किट देक देंग तक तक देंग तक ता धागे ता दिन दा धागे ता दिन दा धागे ता दिन किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा किट तक गदिगन दा ता गदिगन दा किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा धलंग तक दिनि दा तक दरि किट तक गदिगन दा दिना किट तक दिना किट तक दिना किट देक देंग तक तक देंग तक ता धागे ता दिन दा धागे ता दिन दा धागे ता दिन दा किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा धलंग तक दिनि दा तक दरि किट तक गदिगन दा दिना किट तक दिना किट तक दिना किट देक देंग तक तक देंग तक ता धागे ता दिन दा धागे ता दिन दा धागे ता दिन किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा किट तक गदिगन दा ता ता गदिगन दा
गुरु श्री कालंदी चरण परिडांगर एक अरसा वादन करबा मंडलाकार अरसा जहाँकि 3 थर बाजिब धैता किट तक धैता ता किट तक धैता तिन तिना के तिन तिन तिना किट तिन तिना किट तिन तक त्रिगधै 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 त्रिगधैता त्रिगधै तिंगन किट तक तारि किट किट गदिगन धा गदिगन धा गदिगन धा धा गदिगन धा 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 गदिगन धा 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 गदिगन धा ता किट तक धैता ଦାସଙ୍କର ଏକ ଅରସା ବାଦନ କରିବୁ ମଣ୍ଡଳ। Dina dina ding da kita ding da dina dina de kita ding de da de din da kadr kadr kada kadr de kada kadr kadr kada kadr de de tere kita de tere kita de tere kita de tere kita kadigana da kadigana da kadigana da de tere kita de tere kita de tere kita de tere kita kadigana da kadigana da kadigana da de tere kita de tere kita de tere kita de tere kita kadigana da kadigana da kadigana da। तीन जन मिसी गोटे अरसा बादन कर Rina di dina dina di dina kita kadigana da kita kadigana da kita kadigana da। प्रसिद्ध ठाकुर पहंडिला बेले जो घंट मर्दल बाजे से बाणी को लेकिन घंट बरसा बादन द्रुत लय जीवु चारि मात्रा जहाँकि से आम अनाघात अरसा जहाँकि आपड़ जानी सम हूँ प्रथम मात्रा जहाँकि से जगह सब आघात हुए किंतु से जगह आघात हेनी से आमर ठेकाटा रहाँकि अंशारू यहाँ अंशा यहाँ कला अंशारू ठेका जो गुड़ाक अरसार धा पड़ो आसिकी सब 4 उपरे पड़ो 4.5 पड़ो एक किसी एकटा पूरा फांका जीवा अनाघात अरसा गोटे बजाऊँ तो साउंड प्रोब्लेम जापे आप कौन लगुच मुझे कहीपरि ना मुझे प्रोब्लेम हो शुणापी प्रोब्लेम हो काने काने बजाऊँ जहाँ भूल त्रुटि थी क्षमा करेंगे।
धीना धा धीना धागे धीना धा धीना ता धीना धा धीना धागे धीना ता
धीना ता धीना धा धीना धा धा धीना ता धीना ता धीना धा धीना धा धा धीना ता धीना ता। अनाघात अरसा शुणा धीना धा धीना ता धीना ता झणम तकिटे तक धा किटे तक तिंग किटे तक ता किटे तक नम किटे तक थिन थिना किटा थिनी ता तिंगा ना धा थिन थिना किटा थिनी ता तिंगा ना धा थिन थिना किटा थिनी ता तिंगा ना धा ता तिंगा ना धा ता तिंगा ना धा रीन ता थिन धा धा दीन ता थिन ता रीन ता दीन धा धा दीन ता थिन गोटे अरसा अनागत अरसा पार्टी रे डाकुची सुनो धीन धा धीन धा धा धीन ता धीन धीन ता के थिन थिना किटा थिन ता के थिन थिना किटा थिन थिना किटा थिन ता के धागे धा तीन दाता ता किटे तक धीन किटी तक धीना किटा किटी तक धीन किटी तक गदिंगन धाती धा किटी तक गदिंगन धाती धा किटी तक गदिंगन धाती धा रीन धा धीन धा धा धीन ता धीन ता रीन धा धीन धा धा धीन ता धीन ता आमे बे कृष्णकर शब्दस्वर पाठ सेटा हनुमानकर गला एटा कृष्ण राधांगा पर जो ताकर जो रचित तांकर लीला रासलीला इतरे सब वर्णना करा जायछि कृष्णकर गोटे शब्दस्वर पाठ देखिबा आउ शिवंकर मध्य अछि आपणकर जदि इच्छा हुए आपण जदि कहिबे तले शिवंकर आमे करिवु आपण मानकर जदि इच्छा हुए तले आम मानन कहिबे आमे शिव मानकर करिवु सखा से जे लवणी चोर आहा नटवर नागर गोपीक प्रिय सुदामा सखा से जे लवणी चोर ता करतक दे ता करतक दे ता करतक दे करतक दे ता करतक दे ता करतक दे ता करतक दे ताकिटे ता सुंदर पित पट त्रिभंग मुरली नट गोप बाळक संगे से करंती जे रास कि सुंदर पित पट त्रिभंग मुरली नट गोप बाळक संगे से करंती जे रास हे तातिन तिनाक तातिन तिनाक ताक तातिन तिनाक तातिन तिनाक ताक तिना दिन ताक ताति ताक तिना दिन ताक तातिन ताकिटे ता रसिक राज से जे नंदक सूत आहा रसिक राज से जे नंदक सूत रसिक राज से जे नंदक सूत कला कले बर संदीपनिक शिष्य कला कले बर संदीपनिक शिष्य राधा कृष्ण को प्रेम जे अत्यंत अपार ओडिसी संगीत से जे महाप्रभुकर ओडिसी संगीत से जे महाप्रभुकर से जे ओडिसी संगीत से जे महाप्रभुकर जे जे चिंग जाय जिनाक जिन जे जे चिंग जे चिंग जे चिंग जे जिनाक जिन जे जे चिंग दिन तक दे दिन तक दे दिनाक दिन दे दिन तक दे दिन तक दे दिन दे दादरी आम ए द्रुत लय को जीवु ता पूर्वर शिवंकर शब्दस्वर पाठ गोटे करिकी जीवु জটা জুটে শোভিত গঙ্গা টিপি টিপি ডম্বরুনাদ টিপি টিপি ডম্বরুনাদ বাজে তমর্দল দিগিতা দিগিতা দি বাজে তমর্দল দিগিতা দিগিতা দি দিগি 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 ঝম 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 কৃতপাদ ঝম 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 কৃতপাদ ঝম 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 কৃতপাদ ଆମେ ଏବେ ଦ୍ରୁତ ଲୟରେ ସାରିବାକୁ ଯାଉଛୁ ଆମେ ଏବେ ସବାଲ ଜବାବ କରିବୁ ମୁଁ ଯୋଉଟା ବୋଲ କହିବି ଇଏ ତାର ଆନ୍ସର ଦେବେ ଏମାନେ ତାଙ୍କର ଆନ୍ସର ଦେବେ ଜବାବ ଦେବେ ମୋର आमर जहाँ त्रुटि दोष त्रुटि थी आम क्षमा करें निज गुण आम क्षमा करेंगे ये होती आम पूज्य गुरु भाई ये भी मोठू बड़ गुरु भाई ये प्रणाम जनाऊँ जहाँ भूल त्रुटि थी क्षमा करेंगे
मु आम कलाकार मानक अनुरोध करी कि दयाकोरी मंच उपर ही रुहतु मु पुणी थे दर्शक मानक अतिथि मानक अनुरोध करी जो उत्साह जो आनंद सहित से कला परिवेषण कर गोटे जोरदार कलताली हो जाऊ तांकर उत्साह एते सुंदर भाव में सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम को परिवेषण करने मु वर्तमान आम कलिंग साहित्य उत्सव परिवार तरफ एक छोट संबर्धना भेट करने मु मंच उपर को आमंत्रित करने चाहूँगी पद्म विभूषण श्री सुदर्शन साहू सार को एवं ता सहित प्राध्यापिका प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर सुधा मिश्र मैडम को कि आपण आसे तांको संबर्धित करंतु सर मैडम। मुझे दर्शक मान अनुरोध करी जोर भाव में करताली है कि सबू कलाकार मान सम्मानित पुणी थे आम कलाकार बंधु मान बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। बहुत सुंदर भाव में कार्यक्रम को से प्रस्तुत कर सहित आज आम आमर कार्यक्रम शेष पर्यायर पहुंची जाइए।
नमस्कार। ये जो कार्यक्रम आपण समस्ते भी देखुले प्रकृति में आ पछपटे केमिति ये जो मर्दल प्रति बा ये जो आम वाद्ययंत्र शुणुले आपको केमिति करा आ पछपटे गोटे व्यक्तित्व थिले जे कि सबु बेले कहूले आम ए जिनसटी करूँ कारण तांकर म्यूजिक प्रति ए संगीत प्रति एते भल पाइबा से होचंदी आम कलिंग साहित्य महोत्सव परिवार सीईओ श्रीयुक्त अशोक बल महोदय। मु सार को अनुरोध करी सार मंच को आसबे कलाकार मान आशीर्वाद करेंगे। आउ जे मझिरे बसी बजाउथिले तांको परिचय आपण माने देखुथिबे केते सुंदर भाव में तल्लीन होइकि से म्यूजिक भितर बजाउथिले से होचंदी सौम्यकांत मल्लिक। समग्र ओडिशा रे आपण देखिबे मर्दल कथा उठिले वर्तमान युवस्वर भितर से ही अछंती आगे। तेणु आमे केले परिवार पक्षर तांको अनेक अनेक शुभेच्छा ज्ञापन करूछु। एहिपरि भाव से तांकर संगीत यात्रा आगु नियंतु समस्ते ऑल। आउ थे आप समस्त करताली आम चाहबू कारण ये आम ओडिशार कलाकार माने ए माने समग्र भारत में निजर ना करिसेंती केवल आपण ओडिशार नुहंती माने समग्र भारत वर्ष को जाइकी एई मर्दलर प्रचार प्रसार करिवारे से माने समस्ते तल्लीन होई अछंती। आमे अल्प दिन तळे ही प्रथम दिवस रे आमे एई मर्दल वादक जे निजर श्रेष्ठत्व प्रतिपादन करिसेंती ओडिशा रे हरमोन खुंटिया को आमे लिविंग लेजेंड अवार्ड मध्ये आमे देइछु ए केले परिवार तरफ। तेणु अनेक अनेक कृतज्ञता। हाँ सौम्यकांत भाई को अनुरोध किसी अनुभूति रखिए।
आमर बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद समस्त कैमेरा भाई मानक धन्यवाद। आमर गणेश भाई की स्पेशल धन्यवाद। सी आमको सबु बेले जगी थांती कोठी नै कि गोटे फोटो नै कि हम जेमी देले जो प्रोग्राम नेसी थिबे हम फोटोटा ठीक 12टा दी पळे आसे हम मोबाइल को तांको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद भाई। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद प्रणाम भाई। एठू
एति सहित आपण समस्त को अनेक अनेक कृतज्ञता। आपण निजर मूल्यवान समय देई आज्ञा मुझे जहाँ मो गुरुजन अनुरोध मुझे अनुरोध करी सौम्यकांत भाई को यही मर्दल प्रति जीवन में केमती संगीतमय यात्रा किपरि जीवन को प्रवेश करता से संबंध में आमको टिके आलोकपात करेंगे।
मु तो छोट पिला बेलू आमर निगमानंदर भक्त आमे सब तो मु छोट पिला मृदंग बजाउथली ମୁଁ ସବୁବେଳେ କାନ୍ଦେ ଘରେ ମତେ ମୃଦଙ୍ଗ ବଜେଇବାକୁ ଦିଅନ୍ତିନି ମାନେ ମୁଁ ବଜେଇ ପାରେ ନା ଛୋଟ ମୋ ହାତ ଏପଟକୁ ପାଇଲେ ଏପଟକୁ ପାଏନି ମୁଁ ଗୋଟିଏ ପଟେ ଏମିତି ବସିକି ବାଡ଼ାଏ ତ ମତେ ସବୁବେଳେ ମାନେ ପାଟି କରନ୍ତି ଯେ ତୁ ବଜେଇ ପାରିବୁନି ମୁଁ କିନ୍ତୁ କାନ୍ଦେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ପୂଜା ଆମର ହବ କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ ବେଳକୁ ମତେ ଦେବେନି ବଜେଇବା ପାଇଁ ମୁଁ ସବୁବେଳେ କାନ୍ଦେ ମତେ ଦିଅ ମୁଁ ବଜେଇବି ସେଇଠୁ ଆଗ୍ରହ ମୋର ଧୀରେ ଧୀରେ ସୃଷ୍ଟି ହେଲା ତାପରେ ମୁଁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ସବୁବେଳେ ସେବା କରେ ମୃଦଙ୍ଗ ବଜାଏ ମର୍ଦଳ ବଜାଏ ମର୍ଦଳ ଗୁରୁଶ୍ରୀ କାଳୁଚରଣ ପରିଡ଼ାଙ୍କ ପାଖକୁ ଯାଇକି ପ୍ରଥମେ ମୁଁ ମୋ 7th କ୍ଲାସ୍ରେ 7-8 ମାସ ଶିଖିଥିଲି ତାପରେ ମୋର ଇଣ୍ଟରେଷ୍ଟ ମୋର 10th କ୍ଲାସ୍ରେ ଆସିଲା ମୁଁ ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ବୋର୍ଡ଼ ଏକ୍ଜାମ୍ ଦେଉଥିଲି ସେତେବେଳେ ମୋର ମୋ ମୁଣ୍ଡରେ ଚାଲିଥିବ ଯେ ମୁଁ ସଙ୍ଗୀତ ବିଦ୍ୟାଳୟରେ ପଢ଼ିବି ମର୍ଦଳ ଶିଖିବି ତାପରେ ମୋର ଇଚ୍ଛା ଶକ୍ତି ବଢ଼ିଲା ତାପରେ ମୋ ବାବା ଆଣିକି ଆଡ଼ମିସନ୍ କରାଇଲେ କଲେଜରେ ଏବେ କଲେଜ ସରିକି 6th ଇୟର୍ ସରିକି ଏବେ PG ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ଇୟର୍ ଚାଲିଛି ସବୁ ଗୁରୁମାନଙ୍କ ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦ ଭଗବାନଙ୍କ ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦ ଆପଣମାନଙ୍କର ଭଲ ପାଇବା ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦରୁ ଚାଲିଛି ଭଗବାନ କରନ୍ତୁ ଆମ ପରମ୍ପରା ଏମିତି ଆଗକୁ ବଞ୍ଚିକି ରହୁ ଚାଲୁ ଜୟ ଜଗନ୍ନାଥ
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद ए चमत्कार अनुभूति तेणु आपण समस्त सतरे आम धन्यवाद दौचु सब बेसी धन्यवाद आमर भॉलंटियर भाई मानू भौणी मानू जो मैंने शेष पर्यंत रही आम सहित सब कार्य सफलतार सहित किपरि हम ताकू परिचालना करुचंती आपण समस्त विनम्र अनुरोध करुचु आसंता काली ठीक 10टा बेले आमर ए 5टी भेन्यू जो निया जायछि प्रति जगार आमर कार्यक्रम चलियो तेणु आपन अनुरोध समय पूर्व आसवे बहु संख्यार आसवा सहित आपण माने चेष्टा करंतु निज साथी निज परिवार को बंधुवर्ग को समस्त नहीं आसतु कारण ये साहित्य और संस्कृतिर पर्व आपण समस्त जय जगन्नाथ नमस्कार।